Are you gonna move anything except your knights?
No. I'm the Dark Knight, not the Dark Bishop.
Checkmate.
Son of a rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Ha! Paper.
It's a rock of kryptonite. Haha, didn't see that one coming, did ya?
Actually, my paper's your mom's death certificate, so...
Oh, too far, dude. Too far.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rolling 20s. We are the show where my kids recently started playing Pokemon Go. There is now a very pissed off schnauzer in a hamster ball. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Tumblr. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machina Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinasupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard is Less Violent Ways Batman Could Have Battled Superman. You can find more of the videos under the channel of Dorkly. How's it going so far?
My body hates me right now.
Why? Are you trying that thigh master I gave you?
You sent that?
Of course, man. You keep talking about the fat stuff, so I thought I'd, try to help at least.
I don't know. I haven't opened the box yet, so... No, I've been walking around for a few miles these last couple days.
Why?
Your kids aren't the only one playing Pokemon Go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been sitting on my fat ass playing Witcher 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been trying out Pokemon Go, but only, as far as it'll take me free. I'm not in the mood to pay money for this. But, other than that, I survived the Anime Expo. I was not looking forward to that convention, and it actually did kind of surprise me this year.
What did it do?
Well, I did see your video about the tents and them handing out waters. That was
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they put tents at every place. They decided to have people wait for panels, but they put all the panel waiting lines outside this year. But like I said, they at least provided tents, so it wasn't horrible.
Right.
It did help some of the crowding in the upper levels. However, they did seem to have a bump in registration, so the interior, the building, at certain points of the day was damn near unlivable. But they did increase the industry presence at the convention, finally. The only sad part, though, was as much industry was there was very little by the way of big reveals or announcements. Most of the announcements had to do with, guess who we've licensed? It's like, all right, I've seen that show in the simulcast, so that's great.
Yeah.
There wasn't any actual big reveals other than the screening of Gundam Thunderbolt, which is interesting, but again, it's something that's been coming out online already. So... There was really no big grandiose reveals you would have expected from a big industry show. But that's my personal standpoint. A lot of other people were just kind of pissy that they had less of a fan involvement, and I thought that was kind of inevitable with what they've been trying to do. And they announced that Anime Expo next year is going to be a 5-day con.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Well, sort of 5-day. They're copying another Comic-Con move. They're adding a preview night next year, June 30. But it is technically moving to a 5-day con. However, I met some very wonderful people. I met Ashley, Amy, Beverly, and Tara. And yes, 2 of those are guys. Want to guess which ones?
Say the names again.
Ashley, Amy, Beverly, and Tara.
And 2 of them are guys.
Yes, they are. One of them is actually a British guy, too.
I'm going to say Tara is one of them. One of the guys.
Any other guesses?
I don't know. Ashley?
Ashley is a British guy.
Okay.
Tara is his girlfriend.
All right, well.
And Beverly's the other guy.
Okay.
Yeah. That took me a little bit to pick apart myself, man. Sending emails back and forth was kind of frustrating because I'm just like, do you want to be in the all-girls room? Oh, that's not possible. But he was a lot of fun. He saw the videos I did at this year's Anime Expo's Cosplay Wrestling Federation event.
Uh-huh.
He's already coming up with ideas, and between him and his bloody accent, man, he could kill somebody. So we'll get into that. Well, we won't get into that because the subject of this week is Young Avengers. Issues 1 through 6 came out way back in 2005. But we'll get to that after we get through the news of the week. And surprisingly, certain segments of the news were much lighter than I expected. First off, we always start up with Marvel media news. That's where we talk about Marvel properties that end up everywhere but on the comic book pages. And there was only a total of 6 stories in this bracket. That actually surprised me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe they're saving up for Comic-Con.
I'm starting to wonder
awesome.
that, except, it's like Marvel comic news exploded this week. Especially since we were off for the extra days because I was out at Anime Expo. I had trouble trimming down to the number of stories I needed. Let me put it that way.
Wow.
We'll get into that. Let's start off with Marvel Media. And James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, still need to take away his goddamn Twitter.
What do you do this time?
Well, nothing really direct, because he tweeted back on July 6th, quote, "Some specific Skrulls are at Fox, but the Skrulls as a whole are co-owned," unquote.
So the race.
Okay.
Yeah, the race of the Skrulls is actually co-owned by both Marvel and Fox because of the deals that were signed for various movie licensing. He didn't
the Super
elaborate.
Skrull would probably be part of the Fantastic Four.
That is the biggest guess we've got, is that the concept of the Super Skrull is still owned by Fox, which makes the Secret Invasion an impossible thing for Marvel to do at this point as far as movies. Because, after all, the Secret Invasion was inhabited almost entirely by Super Skrulls.
Mm.
So, that does mean that maybe a major Avengers storyline like the Kree-Skrull War could be on the table, though.
That's true.
But yeah, Secret Invasion would pretty much be off the table unless they took out the thing that made the Skrulls the most menacing during that story. Especially after the big deal that the Fantastic Four were at the center of that particular comic storyline. That was the only central Marvel movie story all in the last 2 weeks, man. It was weird.
Huh.
Matter of fact, the next story has to do with the Netflix Daredevil series. There's finally been an announcement as to when it's coming to Blu-ray and DVD.
Ah.
October 3rd. In the United Kingdom.
Damn it.
There is still no official listing of a U.S. release at all.
I can only assume holiday?
I'm going to point to Jesse and say he might be right that they may be saving some crap for San Diego.
That's true.
After all, it's been announced. Well, we've learned that Luke Cage is having his own panel. Netflix has an official capacity at Comic-Con this year for the first time ever. Wouldn't that be the ultimate thing at the end of the Luke Cage panel? It's just like, hey, you guys like Daredevil? By the way, guess what we're selling down in the exhibit hall? Oh. And then the tsunami of bodies just flows down the stairs. I mean, like, literally, Then there's Jesse swept away in the sea foam.
I don't want to know what the analogy would be for that.
Wow, and I thought I had the dirty, sick, and twisted mind. Okay, Steve wants my trophy.
I always thought I had it.
Well, it turns out I was wrong. There was one other story that had to do with Marvel Central Movies. One half of an infamous TV cop duo has joined Spider-Man Homecoming. Tyne Daly is being added in an undisclosed role. She was one half of Cagney and Lacey back in the day.
That was back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day. She apparently has not had a serious part in TV since 1990's Swamp Thing TV show. But I would actually... Ooh, I wonder if Marvel movies will have some news regarding Spider-Man. I know it's filming right now, but just as a reminder, Spider-Man Homecoming comes out July 7th, 2017.
Yeah.
That means this is the only Comic-Con between now and the release date of this movie.
Yep.
Well, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show on NBC has given its announcement on its Season 4 start date. That will be September 20th at 10 p.m. As we previously discussed, the time of the show has been pushed back 1 hour to 10 p.m. for undisclosed reasons other than it may give the show a chance to get a little more edgy and violent now that it's off primetime hours. No announcements as far as story. However, it was revealed in the Saturday schedule of Comic-Con that there will be an announcement regarding the overarching storyline at their Ballroom 20 panel on Saturday. I believe that would be July 23rd.
Makes sense.
I want to get into that.
Yeah, someone tells me a lot of the stories we're going to read over the next couple of weeks are going to involve the words at Comic-Con an awful lot.
Yeah.
So, sorry if we tend to bore you guys, but it's the biggest convention we visit all year. We're all, like, eagerly excited to see it, and we're all going to go broke seeing it. So, yeah, we're going to get our fill talking about it. 20th Century Fox has not announced an official an official release date for Deadpool 2. But Simon Kinberg has revealed that the plan is to begin shooting in early 2017 already.
Oh, wow.
He told Collider, quote, "The guys, Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, are working on the script, and we hope to have the script very soon. We hope to shoot the movie sometime at the beginning of next year," unquote. Kinberg went on to say that the studio is intentionally keeping its future X-Men movie plans more secret than before, including the third Wolverine movie. Quote, "I can only tell you it's going extremely well, and that's about all I will tell you about it. We wanted it to be discovered the same way we used to watch movies a long time ago when you didn't know everything about them before you went to go see them," unquote. Okay, so you plan on destroying the internet, do you?
Yeah.
Sorry, dude, but everybody has a camera now. Everybody has a video camera now. And everybody has the internet in their palm now. Somebody probably would have figured out... Yeah, somebody probably would have figured out how to do all that and masturbate in one hand, except it's really hard to do that with a phone in one hand. Unless you're really into whatever's on your phone. But that's a whole other thing. And last up in Marvel media news, do you know that Captain America's getting a statue in Brooklyn?
No.
I heard about that.
He's getting a bronze 13-foot statue that's going to be put up in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, Captain America's fictional hometown.
Huh.
You want to see the concept of it?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
It's a really simple, very Captain America-esque pose. It's like the one, whenever people tell me they want me to take photos of their Captain America, I usually default to that shield being held high because it's iconic. Everybody knows what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the concept, complete with a pedestal. It looks like a nice combination of 1940s design and the current costume. This is probably a bigger story than you would think because, Captain America is getting a statue. He's not the first fictional character to get this. Remember when Rocky had his statue at that Philadelphia library? The reason why this is more... Right. The thing is, though, you know where this statue's going up first?
Where?
It's going to be on display July 21st through 24th at this little place called San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, really?
Yes, we get to see it before it's actually installed in Prospect Park.
Wow.
Remember when I said the words at Comic-Con are going to come up an awful lot?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Make this a drinking game, guys.
Dude, I'm not even trying. Don't make it a drinking game. I don't want to get calls about people with alcohol poisoning and dying and stuff, man. No.
Please drink responsibly.
Unless, of course, you're my British friend Ashley, because something tells me he drinks like a fish, but that's an estimate. Let's see. We'll move on to DC media news. We'll talk about DC's properties that are going to end up everywhere all around you, including Pokemon Go, possibly, but on the comic book page. We have to start with a relatively sad story. Noelle Neal passed away. I know you guys aren't going to know who that is. I only recently saw her at that Rift Tracks Live Mystery Science Theater reunion event I saw. Because Noelle Neal played the very first TV's Lois Lane back in the 1940s. She was there during the George Reeves Day, the black and white television show.
Right.
She found a niche after she was playing Lois Lane. She was opposite Kirk Allen and George Reeves. She rejoined the franchise on a lot of other occasions, including 1978's Superman the movie, the Superboy TV show in the 80s, and she was even in 2006's Superman Returns. She was also in a number of Western. Yeah, she was also in a number of Westerns. She actually does have a statue of her as Lois Lane, erected in Metropolis, Illinois in 2010. She died at 95 years old in Tucson, Arizona after a long bout of illness.
Well, it's unfortunate that it was after a long bout of illness, but it sounds like she had a very productive life.
I know, but she was on TV in the 1940s. That means she was 95. She must have been born in like the 1920s. Yeah, the 1920s. Yeah. And that means she was there during the period where women were treated like second-class citizens across the damn globe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she lived through a lot of different eras. She would be
she lived through a lot of history.
Yeah, she would have been intriguing to talk to about her career and how different the world was from then to now. So, I mean, I'm not going to say it, you know, because she's dead, DC media falls apart, but because she died, a major chunk of history went with her.
Yeah.
There's an actor from Invictus who says he's in the Justice League. His name is Julian Lewis-Jones. He claims he's been cast, but he also claims he's not allowed to say what his role is. Said, quote, I'm not allowed to say yet what part I play, but let's just say I have a role that in what will likely be the most expensive film ever made, unquote. Okay, I haven't heard confirmation on that. The guy looks a lot like Billy Gunn from the World Wrestling Federation. It's a little creepy. But I will say I liked how carefully he placed his words. He said he has a role in what will likely be the most expensive film ever made. He didn't say best. He didn't say most grandiose. I noticed he didn't say well written. He just said most expensive, and I don't think he's lying about that.
No, yeah, I have a feeling they're going to pull out all the stops for this movie.
They have to after what Batman v Superman did to consumer confidence, man. It killed people's goodwill in DC's universe. You know, except for like really hardcore DC fans. I still find people occasionally who tell me, you won't understand Batman v Superman unless you're a true fan. And that's when I have to look at him in the eye and say, a true fan of what?
I've read Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. I've read The Death of Superman. This movie kind of shitted on them.
You can say it. We have an explicit tag on the show for a reason. You know,
Sorry.
You know, I've seen good adaptations of things. I liked Batman Begins. I'm not a fan of The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises for varying reasons. I'm even a fan of the original like 1984 Superman film. As cheesy as it is, it was really impressive cinematography in its day. Mm-hmm. You know, the second Superman film, Superman 2, my absolute favorite. If you get the 3-hour Donner cut, that is awesome movie making. Yes, still goofy. It's very 1980s, but it's an awesome movie. Superman 3, we took that left turn into Albuquerque and everything was messed up.
Yeah.
And it never got back on track from there. So you can't tell me that I hate DC movies. I enjoy them when I enjoy them. I'm not going to say there's an absolute roadmap. If I liked every movie that came out that was good, I wouldn't have enjoyed Robot Jocks back in the day.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
That was a crap film, but I enjoyed it.
Yes, this is true.
How about this for interesting news? In 2018, The Flash has to take on a very unexpected adversary.
Himself?
Lara Croft.
What?
The Tomb Raider reboot in 2018, starring Alicia Vikander, is scheduled for release March 16th, 2018, according to Variety.
Oh.
That is the exact same day Warner Brothers comes out with their Flash film for the DCU.
I don't know. Considering the previous movies of Tomb Raider, I'm almost going Flash with this one.
I don't know because unfortunately this is also the Flash is being set in Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe, which still hurts. And
if this Tomb Raider is set based off the new reboot, I might go watch that instead.
Yeah. It is. This is the Tomb Raider that was based on the 2013 reboot game by Square Enix.
Okay, yeah, I have more prospects of that being good than
I don't even think
Flash.
Yeah, I don't even think Angelina Jolie has like a bit part in it to harken back to the other games. I think they've completely cut off all references to the prior movies, and this is just a brand new telling of Lara Croft.
I think they're better off that way.
Oh, I completely agree. You know, the last thing I need is the idea of what's her name, Angelina Jolie pushing like 55, running around in skin tight spandex. That's a time where you look at it and say, I think Auntie Anna is off her medication again.
I think the only reference that they could do to the previous one is have a magazine with Angelina Jolie's picture out being burned by whatever.
Oh,
Ooh, dark. Wow.
I'm sorry, that just crossed my mind.
I'm going to drop that there because I can't paint a rosy picture on that. So we'll move on to the DCW, as Kevin Smith puts it. The CW, and there are now 4 DC shows they have.
Oh, man.
Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. The CW actually signed a hell of a licensing agreement. Netflix now has an exclusive deal to re-air all 4 shows.
Really?
Yes. The only way you will be able to binge watch these seasons is to go to Netflix and download the shows. You know,
Okay, I'll give
that-
Legends of Tomorrow a shot then.
that's not the only thing they signed, man. They, in addition to that, Netflix also gets the rights to the upcoming Archie adaptation Riverdale and iZombie.
wow.
They're really shooting for that teen constituency, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, personally, out of all those shows, iZombie is the one I enjoy the most. That's a very fun show.
I've tried. I can't.
It's not the first few episodes where it sells you. It starts to kick in really heavy late in the first season. Let's see. Arrow for season 5 has added another character.
Who?
They've added the character of Susan Williams. She's being played by Carly Pope. The reason why this is somewhat notable is because the character of Susan Williams is not a Star City native. She's a Coast City native. Coast City is the fictional home of the Green Lantern Hal Jordan.
Uh-huh.
This wouldn't be the first time that the Arrow has borrowed from the Green Lantern's roster. They've had signs for both Coast City and Ferris Air in several episodes of the show, as well as an offhand mention for a certain missing test pilot.
Yeah.
So, Newsarama had an interesting point in that if Supergirl is now in the CW and they're actually casting an active Superman instead of in profile or just his boots, could other major DC heroes like Green Lantern be that far behind? It's an interesting question, at least.
I hope they do it a little more faithfully to... Just stay away from the freaking movie, guys.
Just don't make the suit green or animate it.
I don't care about it being green. I mean, it's got to have some green on it, but...
Well, Podfather Kevin Smith would actually like to write an episode of Arrow like he did for Flash. Well, actually, he didn't write an episode of Flash. He just directed it. He would like to work on the Arrow TV series because he would like to use his created villain from the comic books, Onomatopoeia,
Yeah.
Oh.
the character he created in 2002. He has a plan, but he told Den of Geek, quote, instead of just doing the actual sound, which to me in the real world would be like the dude from Police Academy making noises with his mouth,
Yeah.
he'll just have little cards, business cards that have typewritten words of whatever the fuck. So instead of saying blam, you'd find this card on your desk and then turn around and blam, he'd shoot you and stuff like that, which I think is a little more chilly.
That'd be scary.
Yeah. You know, doing it in live action, unquote.
Yeah.
That would be scary, actually.
Yeah. Let's see. He went further on with Den Geek, quote, so you read slit and you're like, slit? Then all of a sudden you turn around and he cuts your fucking throat and dude just cocks his head Michael Myers style and watches you go down. So yeah, obviously I've thought about it a little bit, but it would be cool to do. Hopefully they'll tap me, unquote.
Yeah.
I would
know
like
what?
to see this.
Yeah,
That-
back up, dude, because that description enough would make me watch an episode of Arrow. That's creepy as hell.
Yeah. That right there, the visual image. Wow.
I know, just...
I would love one of those
you-
cards to be the sound that the arrow makes, and he hands it to the Green Arrow.
The thing is, though, you wouldn't have to limit that to just business cards. Could you imagine the same kind of setup? Some business exec sits down at his desk, boots up his monitor, and all of a sudden all he sees in big letter is blam.
Yeah.
Then out of nowhere, a gunshot just comes straight through the back of his head.
Or you walk across the wall and it says crash. What?
Yeah.
Here comes a car.
Or a piano. Supergirl is actually getting an early start on the CW. Her second season starts on October 10th. But before that, the CW is actually going to re-air the first season that broadcast on, I think it was CBS. According to Deadline, the first 2 episodes from Supergirl's season will air on the CW or actually 2 episodes will air from the first season on the CW every Monday night starting on August 1st. Hey, you got to dial in people who haven't seen the shows if this character is going to be as interconnected as the others.
True.
And the new DC Office comedy, Powerless, has confirmed its first villain. We've talked about the first hero being the Crimson Fox from the Justice League International. Remember that bizarre red spandex hoodie outfit?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems like they're also going very deep in the roster to come up with the first villain. It is a villain from Justice League International, the former hero called the Jack-O-Lantern. I guess this has to be a comedy because apparently by description, I've never read the character, but he's a European villain with a magic lantern and an Irish brogue. If you tell me he's being played by Sheamus from World Wrestling Entertainment, I'm done. I'm out. No way. Backing up. You will hear the beep, beep, beep noise as I get the hell out of there.
That's very confusing since Marvel actually has their own version of a jack-o'-lantern.
Well, several characters have different versions. I mean, I'm sure there are more than a few names that would cross over technically.
Yeah,
you just have to have your preferences. Unfortunately, English only goes so far unless we start inventing new words. And if you tell me there's a new character called LOL, I'm killing you.
Give it time.
I'm gonna find you.
That's part of.
That'll be a new iteration of the Joker, right there.
Steve, you have my permission to murder him in his sleep.
All right.
And the last bit of DC media news I have is a little bit of sad news because something that was just announced has just been taken away.
What?
1 month ago, we talked about the re-release of the original Batman Arkham games, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City for the current generation consoles, PS4, Xbox, and all that.
Uh-huh.
Warner Brothers Interactive has sent out another announcement on the game saying that they are delayed indefinitely. You know what that means, right? There is no proposed date as to when these games are coming out now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why.
According to the official press release, quote, after reviewing the progress of the project, the team at WB Games has decided to delay the release of Batman Return to Arkham to give the team at Virtuous Games additional time to deliver a polished Batman Arkham game experience. We do not have a release date yet, and we will be sure to communicate that once we are sure the game will be ready. We know this is disappointing news, but we feel the extra time will allow the team to create the best gaming experience for our fans, unquote. This was originally scheduled
like they had with Arkham Knight.
That's the initial guess. I'm just hoping that that's what that is. They really do need to polish it, and this isn't their way of saying that the returns on the advertising were not what they hoped, so this is their way of trying to bury the project. I really hope that's not the case. Because the original release for these games was supposed to be July 26th.
Oh, wow.
It would have come out right after we got back and got some sleep, basically. So that's a little sad, because as much as $25 is a little more than I'd like to pay for a game I've played already, would have really liked to have had the whole trilogy on, like, one console, That would have made my day. And now we move on to general media news. This is where we talk about the nerdy properties that are coming out in multimedia that are not related to Marvel or DC. And the first bit of news probably wouldn't be that much of a surprise to anyone watching the show. The first season of Preacher is about halfway done at this point. The next episode airs tomorrow night. And it was just announced also that they have I believe a Ballroom 20 panel happening for the show, if not a Hall H panel at Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. Sip carefully. Well, it's just been renewed for another 13-episode season for 2017. According to Charlie Collier, who's the president of AMC, Sundance, and AMC Studios, quote, Preacher is a special television program, and we're eager to share with fans the rest of this wild first season, and now an expanded second season. What Sam, Seth, Evan, and the entire creative team have achieved bringing Garth Ennis' graphic novel to the screen is extraordinary. We look forward to more time with these unforgettable characters, be it in heaven, hell, Texas, or beyond, unquote. Okay, first of all, nice statement at the end there. That was a nice little dig. Secondly, I've been watching the show with aplomb. It is a bizarre psychological trip, and I don't mean like angels and demons everywhere and bizarre powers. I mean just so many people and their weird foibles trying to exist in the modern day world. In addition to what responsibilities a lot of them have heaped upon themselves rather than, given to them by others. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bizarre character profile. And it's interspaced with the most bizarre violence I've ever seen in my life. The one scene where Dominic Cooper as Jesse Custer with the two, you remember the two guardian angels who were supposed to be guarding Genesis and actually released it on Earth? A seraphim came down in a human form, and they're trying their best to subdue it because if you shoot it and kill it, it just gets rebirthed in a different body and comes back for you again within a couple minutes. So by the end of this scene that goes on for a good 8-9 minutes, there's got to be, between the seraphim and these two idiot angels, there's got to be 50 bodies in the floor of one Texas motel room. It's just bizarre.
Just piles and piles.
Yeah, and just when it seems like they got her subdued, she's getting ready to just slit Jesse's throat, is when Cassidy opens the door, takes one look, and shoots her in the head. And then everybody looks at him pissed off, and he's just like, what? That's when there's a flash outside the door, and the seraphim tackles him, and all you hear is, bloody hell! Those people who don't like it when Hollywood tries to make an adaptation of a popular manga or anime, this is not good news for them. It's just been announced that the rights to Lone Wolf and Cub Final Conflict has been bought. SP International Pictures plans on filming in 2017 already. The original comic series was by Koike Kazuo and was illustrated by Goseki Kojima. It's been said that this movie will have an essentially Japanese cast. I don't know what precisely that means. I really don't. An essentially Japanese cast. That's very carefully worded. I just don't know what that means.
They're importing.
Importing. Wow. Well, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, we've talked about the game every now and again because the tournament scene makes some news, both positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of popular YouTubers regarding the game, though, that have gotten themselves into a spat of trouble.
Ooh, yep.
Their names are Trevor Martin and Tom Pro Syndicate Castle. They often on their YouTube shows would promote this gambling site for Counter-Strike skins. You know, the weapon skins in this game can be really expensive to collectors, and they pay real money for it. You can get them for very limited times. The site is called CSGO Lotto. You can gamble real money in hopes of winning Counter-Strike weapon skins. It turns out that Trevor Martin and Tom Castle are part owners in this site.
Yep.
They kept promoting it as if it was advertising on their shows when, in fact, they own the site.
Not only that, but they use it, too.
Yeah. You pay a few dollars, you watch a roulette-style apparatus select who wins an item, and it was estimated that the Counter-Strike gambling scene in 2015 made a total of $2.3 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. The reason why all this is apparently controversial is that when Martin and Castle and CSGO Lotto began, when Honor the Call posted a video in which they dug into major CSGO gambling sites like Lotto's incorporation details, and what they discovered was that the site's president is Trevor Martin and the VP is Thomas Castle. But Martin posted videos like how to win $13,000 in 5 minutes about CSGO Lotto. And Castle has posted doing things like taking $50 and using it to rack up hundreds of dollars on the site. So they essentially made very long advertisements for something they already own. As a result, the two are being sued right now. According to Polygon, Martin and Castle, as well as CSGO Lotto and his business partners, have been added to a recent lawsuit in regards to the CSGO skin betting scene.
I'm not exactly sure what's illegal about that.
They misrepresented themselves as talking about the site as if it was a third party, not theirs.
No, I suppose.
So the suit was recently filed by a parent on behalf of her child, and it claims that Valve has fostered the growth of an illegal gambling scene where weapon skins stand in for casino chips, which is technically true.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, a purchase is a purchase, but this is a case of betting online, which requires special licenses. If they don't have those licenses, they are effectively screwed.
But Steam itself is not the one. What's the loophole that they are working on? It's not actual money. They have to go through a third-party site, which those two guys own, to get the money from the digital items.
I understand that, but sometimes when you add a company that has a tangential association with an issue you're suing on, the idea is not necessarily to get money of them, but to use them to try to pressure the parties you're really after. You screwed up, and we have to now come to bear on you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an unfortunate piece of just legal loopholery that is caught up to these guys.
It kind of makes me wonder what their earnings from it were.
I imagine the lawsuit will uncover
Crap
that.
tons.
They probably because they got to advertise it. I couldn't guess, but I imagine the lawsuit will uncover that fairly soon as part of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
In happier news, one of the announcements that did come out at Anime Expo was the One Punch Man dubbed anime coming to Toonami.
Yeah,
Heard about that?
Well, you can't have just heard about it because actually it debuts July 16th. Debuts this coming Saturday.
No, I heard that it was happening.
We heard of the announcement.
It's still not something that excites me. I still have yet to get into the show. I'm not a fan of the concept overall.
I just, on general principle, avoid dubbed stuff like the plague.
I didn't say it'd be my first exposure to it. I might go back and watch the anime because I had a long conversation with that guy I was telling you about, Ashley, about it. And he's trying to get me to give it a second shot. I may when I have time. 2 weeks before Comic-Con is a really bad time for me to try and get into a new show.
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of other concerns right now. And last up in general media news, Comixology has added select Image comics and titles with their Androids and Windows app. It's a new title, or it's a new service called Comic Blitz. It launched in 2015, and it's now expanded its $9.99 per month service to be available to both Android and Windows mobile platforms, as well as on traditional PCs and laptops. Comic Blitz has recently reached an agreement with the Image Comics imprint Top Cow to begin running some of its titles on its flat reading rate app. So that joins Dynamite Entertainment, Valiant Entertainment, Zenoscope, Action Lab, and a few others to stream books, basically. I wonder if it has the original run of Cyberforce.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of interesting to be able to go back to some of those older ones.
I'm interested, but I'm kind of scared to go back because remember what happened last time we tried that?
Yeah.
And, I realize I enjoyed the books. I still have the idea that I enjoyed the books, but technically, it's the X-Men with cyborg parts.
It's true. It's very true.
So, I don't know. At least I'm in touch with my stupid, I guess. Okay, now we have Marvel comic news. We'll talk about the Marvel properties that are ending up in the comic book pages. And considering we are 10 days away from Comic-Con as we record this, there's a surprising amount of information that came out. Either Marvel doesn't care to announce news at Comic-Con, which we know they do, or they really want to see if they can drag people into their panels, which is very likely. Although, first off, let's talk about a storyline that was pissing people off a month ago.
Yes.
It's amazing that's all I have to say. You guys are already keyed in. You might make comic book fans yet. 5 weeks ago, technically, as we sat here, we were talking about when Steve Rogers uttered those two magic words every woman wants to hear. Hail Hydra. And that got a lot of people up in arms screaming, that's not my Captain America. He would never do that. He would never betray his country like that. Technically, he already has before. If you haven't read the comics, I invite you to go back and find out about the time where he was hypnotized Nazi. Or the 2 times he's quit being Captain America and picked up other costumes. So don't base comic book storylines on movies. You will find out that you have a major goddamn headache. But as of Captain America Steve Rogers #2, they did explain why suddenly Captain America is a deep cover Hydra agent. Did you guys catch up on this story?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Remember Assault on Pleasant Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Captain America was still elderly. He was rejuvenated by Kobik, the embodiment of a bunch of shattered cosmic cube fragments, right?
Yes.
Which has the mentality and body of a young girl. It turns out that while this was going on, unbeknownst to everyone else, remember how the Red Skull has Professor Xavier's telepathic power surgically implanted in his brain?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It turns out he used those powers to not only hide himself from the perception of everybody, but he dug into the back of Kobik's mind while he was at it and implanted a certain suggestion into Captain America's head via Kobik's powers.
Yep.
That's why Captain America has a bunch of implanted false memories of being a deep cover Hydra agent since he was a boy.
Which is actually somewhat similar to what he tried to do with the original Cosmic Cube in the Falcon.
Isn't it, though? That's one of those reasons why I was so upset when people just started saying, that's not what he'd do. He'd never do that. It's like, oh, frick, people, we've been here. We have seriously been here before. But at the same time, though, I find this storyline interesting, and I'd like to see it play out, because there has never been a story where Captain America, or I should say Steve Rogers, since there's two of them right now, where Steve Rogers has been so thoroughly corrupted before. And right now, he is the perfect sleeper agent within the Avengers. This is incredible. I really look forward to seeing how this shakes out.
Mm.
But all of you can calm down now. He's not a total traitor. He's just been fooled into thinking he's a traitor again. Remember, this has happened before.
Yes.
And remember how we saw all those weird upside down, like playing card style Marvel ads between different heroes?
Yeah.
While we were out, there were 3 more images, but instead of going through all that, I will show you the final image that was released during our break. And
right.
Boy, does it add a major wrinkle into what we were thinking. Take a look at this and tell me what you see from this image. Because you can see a chasm in the middle, and then there's 2 groups of, let's say, characters, because I can't guarantee they're all heroes in these pictures.
Is that Doom holding
Yeah.
Iron Man's helmet?
Yes.
It is.
He's trying to be Iron Man.
Not exactly.
Really? Okay.
That's further on. We'll get into that. But what do you get from looking at the 2 sides standing across this chasm? I mean, we've got characters like, I'm guessing that's Fing Fang Foom's foot back there.
I'm assuming.
Slapstick, Steve Rogers, Gamora, Cable, the Black Panther, Elektra, Odin's son, Captain Marvel, Jessica Jones, Quake,
Who's the guy in the
Solo,
back? Oh,
Solo, and Fool Killer. On the other side of the chasm, we have Mosaic, Gwenpool, Miss America, Squirrel Girl, the new Wasp, the Prowler, Moon Girl, Riri Williams, Miles Morales, Amadeus Cho, Stephen Strange, Miss Marvel, and Kate Bishop. With the exception of...
It's like...
The thing is, though, with the exception of the Prowler and Stephen Strange on the right side, you notice how both of these pictures are split across generation.
Yeah.
You've got a younger cadre of heroes versus the established heroes, basically.
Pretty much.
So it leads me to think that whatever's happening post-Secret Wars, whatever split occurs between the hero community, it looks like it falls along generational lines. Which is an interesting problem, although I guess technically the Prowler and Stephen Strange, even though they're both the first of their name, they're not exactly the first in their positions.
Mm.
There's
And the
been
fact
more
that-
than one Prowler, and Stephen Strange is not the first Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. Well, the thing that actually really kind of bothers me about this is that Cap is actually on Tony Stark's side, on the same side as Doctor Doom.
Yeah, well, we've been reading him in Invincible Iron Man. Doom is not a marauding
No, he's not. but it's-
plutocrat anymore. He's just trying to be whatever he wants to be.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's
just creepy.
We'll get into that. Alex Alonso, though, he is one of Marvel's editor-in-chiefs. He stated that the characters in this Divided We Stand image represent the new status quo after the Second Civil War. Said, quote, "This is not an event. It's the status quo of the Marvel Universe in the aftermath of the war. It's a glimpse as to whom we can point to in the coming year with just enough what the heck's going on here spots to get people speculating. There's no Tony Stark in that picture, but who's that guy holding the helmet? Is that Doctor Doom? The young girl in the gray armor looks like the new War Machine," unquote.
Right.
And he went on to say, quote, "They're all there because they matter. They'll either be in a solo series, or they'll be the key member of a team, or they'll do something that you'll be talking about in a Marvel book that will bring them into a position of prominence. They're there for a reason, including that big, what appears to be a Godzilla foot, which it turns out is not Fing Fang Foom. That's the foot of the American kaiju that recently appeared in New Avengers.
Oh, that thing?
Yes. Huh. So it looks like they're getting ready to roll the dice again after the war and just shake things up, which is got internet complainers complaining about all kinds of things.
Of course.
But, that's the thing that I think a lot of new comic book readers don't understand, is that comic books live and die on their ability to adapt and create stories that people have never read before. And in Marvel's case, they're shaking up their lineups like a Yahtzee box. Just when you think you have it locked in is when everything shifts around. And to me, after reading comic books for 30 years, this is fun. After every event, things are shifting around, and that's the important part of an event. Not that everything goes back to normal as soon as the villain's done. It's just, how are these people going to come through it?
Right.
As a matter of fact, it turns out Tony Stark may not come through it.
Oh.
You may still have that divided we stand image in front of you, where the central figure in the second generation characters is Riri Williams in that modified gray armor. Remember the one she cobbled together in Invincible Iron Man? She is not going to be War Machine. As of Invincible Iron Man, or as of a brand new Invincible Iron Man #1, Riri Williams is going to be the one in the red and gold armor. She will be the new Iron Man. But there's a question as to where that leaves Tony Stark. Would you like to see the cover of the new Invincible Iron Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me put it to you this way. Riri Williams is taking over Tony Stark's job. It looks like Tony Stark may be taking over Friday's job. Take a look at this. So there's Riri Williams with an arc reactor apparently at least in her shirt, if not her chest, the Iron Man helmet she's going to wear, and there's a pink holographic Tony Stark behind her. Just like his current AI. This had a bunch of people up in arms complaining about SJWs and diversity for diversity's sake. I don't know if people are aware of this, but there's been 10 prior characters that have been Iron Man besides Tony Stark, so shut the hell up. There's literally been 10. Newsarama had a story of the 10 characters that have taken over as Iron Man. There's been that many.
Yeah.
She's not the first, definitely not the last. But, geez, there was already a black guy in this armor. James Rhodes was Iron Man for a while.
Yep.
Well, what's the big deal about a black woman?
Yeah.
For freak's sake.
I don't know, but it seems to me that wearing that helmet, she's going to have to do something about the hoop earrings.
Some people did point out she had to do something about the hair. Yeah.
Well, the hair can be compressed.
Well, the story hasn't come out yet. Let's see if they have a plan. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure they have a plan.
Well, they better, because this is what she'll look like in that armor, and you'll notice she doesn't look that different from the current version. You can see the waist is a little more trim and the hips are a little wider, but that's about the only major difference to the armor, other than, I'm guessing, height.
Yeah. Although, honestly, with Iron Man, it's not too hard to add some height.
Yeah, at least they didn't go boob. At least they didn't go boob armor. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I got to give them props for not doing that.
Yeah, that's why I said at least they did not do that. That's been one of the biggest tropes in comic books since I was a kid. Here's the thing, though. She will not be the only Iron Man running around. I expected a little more conversation besides that, but we'll go with that.
Well, it turns out, of trying to come up with some thoughts there, but yeah.
Well, we already talked about this a little bit. The second series is called Infamous Iron Man. It's going to be written by Brian Michael Bendis, and the art's going to be done by Alex Maleev. And the man in the armor is none other than former tyrant Victor Von Doom. As we said, Victor Von Doom is being more pragmatic in his latest writings. We don't know why, necessarily, other than it appeared that after the Secret Wars, he was really done trying to be a tyrant because he got to do it, and it didn't, even as we read the series, it didn't feel like it was quite his thing like he thought it would be. So now he's trying something new with his repaired face, but he is putting on new armor because it says in the solicit, quote, "There's a new Iron Man in town, and his name is Victor Von Doom. The greatest villain of the Marvel Universe will try something new. Where Tony Stark failed, Doom will succeed. What is Doom's master plan?" Unquote.
And what did Stark fail at other than, most things?
I don't know because the Civil War is not done, and the fallout of what's his name's power. I've already forgotten his name. Odysseus, the Inhuman that can predict the future and project it.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be beyond a futurist to try and figure out how to make it work to its utmost, and perhaps he didn't fulfill that, or maybe the major death that happens as of the issue that comes out this Wednesday can somehow be pinned on Tony. Maybe this is Doom's way of actually trying to save people for once. Which, again, before Secret Wars, he did attempt. He was a member of the Fantastic Four for a short amount of time. Technically the Future Foundation at that point, but still, he was on the squad. Of his own free will, even. In addition to Infamous Iron Man, other new series will be Solo #1, the man in far green at the left side of that image. He is a mercenary, I believe he's one of Deadpool's mercs for the money. And another new series was announced, and I gotta know what this means. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme #1.
Huh.
Partner?
Sounds...
Adepts?
No. Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers, plural, Supreme.
Previous iterations?
Could it be other magicians in the Marvel Universe? There's technically been at least 3 living Sorcerers Supreme, if you count Brother Voodoo and Baron Mordo. Baron Mordo did steal the title. He didn't actually earn it, but still.
And I thought there could, it was kind of like Highlander. There could be only one.
Well, there have been other candidates. When Strange died, there was a number of people who the eye might have been meant for. Not died, when he was disgraced. The Scarlet Witch was on that list of candidates. So was Magic from the X-Men.
God, both of those would have been scary.
Well, speaking of scary, as a result of whatever happens with the Second Civil War, 2 new teams of Avengers are coming. One, the New Avengers is getting rebranded. The New Avengers was a team that had Songbird, Hawkeye, Wiccan, Hulkling, and a few other members on it. Remember, that was Sunspot's Avengers Idea Mechanics squad?
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, after Civil War II, they're being rebranded. They're going to be called the U.S. Avengers.
I saw that.
It's Sunspot still leading it with his newly rebranded AIM of America Idea Mechanics. He's being flanked by his best friend Cannonball. On this team is Pod, a scientist. I can't remember her name. She's been in the New Avengers in several pages, but she's going to be the new Iron Patriot, which is like, it's almost like it's the current version of War Machine. It's armed to the teeth. Thunderbolt Ross is back as the Red Hulk. Danielle Cage, the Captain America of the future, and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones' daughter is on this squad somehow. And flanking it all, possibly the new field leader, Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
And the first new major enemy they have to deal with is apparently a threat from the future called the Golden Skull.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know what that means. I've never heard of the character before. But that's not the only Avengers
Might be
team
a future version of Red Skull.
Thank you. I could have gotten that. But I hazard to guess. For all I know, it's Tony Stark's reanimated skeleton. But that's not the only team getting a new book after Civil War II. I guess I could say that this team offered us a membership, but we did not accept because they're a walking disaster.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. The Great Lakes Avengers are back.
What?
You seriously have not heard of them. I'm surprised you
I've
haven't
heard
talked
from
to your
you
own
guys. I've heard from you guys, but I've never experienced this tragedy, I guess?
It's not a tragedy. It's the 4 surviving members, I guess you could say, because several of them have died, doing their best to be superheroes, and their beat is Minnesota, I believe? Michigan. Yeah, they're the Great Lakes Avengers. They are 4 of the absolute worst superheroes. You have Mr. Immortal, who technically won't die because death will not take him. Death refuses to actually take him, so he just keeps regenerating after short bouts of death. Then you have Flat Man. Think Mr. Fantastic without the 3D. He's literally just a 2-dimensional being. He does stretch, but that's about as far as it goes. You have Doorman, who is a Class 10 teleporter.
Right.
A Class 1 teleporter can teleport across the Earth. A Class 10 teleporter might be able to get you into the next room.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You took that the wrong way, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Usually higher numbers mean more power.
Yeah, not this guy. And then you have Big Bertha, who is a model by day, but her powers is to basically have exact control over cellulite. So in her more armored form, she is a superbly large woman. And to give you an example, Jesse, of where this team lies when it comes to power, Squirrel Girl was on their team for a little while. She was considered the heavyweight of the crew.
Yes.
I didn't know she
was
on
successful.
The team.
Yeah, she's the only successful hero they've ever had in their roster. Deadpool was on the team for a little while during the initiative days.
I think he got some of them killed.
No, he got one of them killed. He got Mr. Immortal killed a lot.
Right.
Sometimes personally. Go figure. There's another team that's spinning out of Civil War II, though. This is the one I'm the most curious about because it involves something I'm reading currently, and I didn't need this information. I almost wish I was less informed. Marvel is recreating the Champions. The Champions have not been a book in Marvel since, I want to say, the 70s.
Mm.
And they had members like Iceman and Angel and a bunch of B and C listers. I think Hercules was a champion at some point. This has nothing to do with any of them. This is a brand new book, apparently spinning out of whatever generational gap Civil War II is creating, and it has a roster to actually be feared. It has 3 current Avengers, 1 Rogue, and when I say Rogue, I don't mean the Southern Belle, I mean 1 character on its own, 1 X-Man, and 1 Legacy hero who I never thought would be in another comic. You want the roster?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Okay. The 3 Avengers on this squad, Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, and Sam Alexander. The Ultimate Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, and Nova.
Wow, that's a young group.
Yeah, and again, they're probably quitting their respective teams and positions to do this. The Rogue on the squad, the totally awesome Hulk, Amadeus Cho.
Wow.
The X-Man, the time-lost Cyclops from the 1960s.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, yeah, who it's been confirmed that everybody on the team is apparently extremely skeptical of as soon as he shows up. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And, it's the last one that made me wish I was less informed because I would have loved this surprise. The Legacy hero I mentioned. The one who's never been in a superhero book before. It's Viv.
Who?
Viv, the Vision's daughter.
Viv! Oh, crap.
She lived.
Wow.
She's in this book. I don't have a release date on it, but I am way behind this. I need to see how she got through all this.
Yeah.
Let me see. The writer, who is writing this book? Mark Waid, who is a well-known writer. Humberto Ramos is doing the pencils. Mark Waid is great because he said, quote, and man, I'm in that tiny sliver of people who think Scott Summers is the best X-Man there is. I love Scott Summers ever since I first started reading X-Men comics back in the mid-'60s. So I campaigned quite heavily to get young Scott Summers on that team. My primary goal for the doubters, by the end of issue 1, you will love Scott Summers, unquote.
Or hate him.
Oh no, Tom Beveridge explains that Cyclops' would-be champions teammates might be the hardest to welcome in, comparing him to Kid Hitler in terms of what his adult counterpart did.
Wow.
According to Beveridge, quote, this is the young Scott Summers pulled from the past. In my head, he's kind of the first challenge the group faces, which is to say that when they get together and start to do this, what they're doing is not just putting together a superhero team, they're more like activists. They're making an inclusive statement that they mean to be for all members of their generation. It's time to get together, stand up, and fix the world. This is the message that goes out, and people come in response to it. Cyclops shows up and goes, boy, I love what you're putting down. I'd like to be a part of it. It's kind of like Kid Hitler showing up at the door. The older Cyclops has done some stuff. He's a hugely divisive figure in the Marvel Universe, so the first question these kids have to answer for themselves is, should we let him be a part of this? Is his very presence going to taint what we're doing? Is his older self became a radical and a revolutionary and did awful things, but is this the same guy? And that's kind of why he's here, I think. He wants to go down a different road than his older self did, unquote.
Well, everyone's made up of their experiences, so if you change their experience, you change the person.
If that was true, they never should have let Viv on the team.
That honestly scares me a lot. The fact that, I mean, with Vision, it
Oh no,
it
Vision's
was
getting
kind of,
Vision's getting darker, man. It's actually getting darker. They accidentally electrocuted one of the neighbor's dogs, and instead of returning the body, Vision took it, scanned its brain, and created a new family pet.
Whoa.
wow.
Yes.
Frankenstein that thing?
It's oh, dude. When the second half of that series comes out, I think we have to revisit that universe and find out how that ended.
Please.
It's just getting worse somehow, and I didn't think that was possible. But one character is actually getting his own book again.
Who?
Remember we mentioned in that graphic Thor Odinson's in it?
Uh-huh.
He is not coming back to the Mighty Thor. That will still be Jane Foster wielding the hammer Mjolnir. Odinson is getting a brand new series called, get this, The Unworthy Thor.
Oh.
It's going to be written by Jason Aaron, and the artist will be the returning Thor's Oliver Copiel. According to Jason Aaron, quote, I mean, again, we did just tease where the Odinson is a prisoner, so where's the prisoner? Why? What's going on? We flash back a little bit with the first issue of the series and see what he was up to post-Secret Wars. How he got pulled into this situation all begins with him finding out there's this other hammer out there. He just needs to find it, unquote.
Oh, boy.
There is another hammer that survived the Secret Wars, if you recall. We talked about it really briefly.
Right.
Ultimate Thor's hammer.
Cracks.
Yeah, Ultimate Thor's hammer survived Battle World. That gigantic honking two-handed mother. And a lot of people are saying if he couldn't pick up his hammer, how could he pick up this one? You got to remember, these hammers were created in different universes by different characters, and technically, worthiness is kind of a subjective issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I mean, if it's got its own intelligence, it's got its own goals.
Considering the heroes that the Ultimate characters were and the type of mass murders they pulled off,
yeah.
I think the scale for that hammer is going to be much lower.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if they're going to actually have a showdown between Odinson and Jane Foster Thor.
That needs to take place in space, because there is no city on Earth that could survive that tantrum. Well, technically there's one, but if you destroy Detroit, there's technically no difference. Sorry,
Well,
we love
plus
you, Detroit. We've never been there.
That's too close to Michigan.
I thought you were going to say Canada.
No, it's too close to Michigan. They might involve
Okay.
the Great Lakes Avengers.
Oh, good. Mr. Immortal will have his upteenth death. I thought you were going to say Canada, dude, because if Guardian and Shaman intervene, holy crap. Captain Marvel is getting a new #1 post-Secret Wars. It's going to be in early 2017. And it looks like even though Tony Stark is unaccounted for, he might have made out better when it comes to the two leaders in this current Civil War. Because Captain Marvel, as you recall, this is the first time she's been in a position of central authority. She's gathering heroes to her side to change the future, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The first issue of this is being written by a young adult author called Margaret Stahl, who wrote Black Widow Forever Red. She's going to be joined by astonishing Ant-Man artist Ramon Rosanas. And she said, quote, "It's fun to be at this moment where you're getting to introduce the people beyond the comics fans to this powerful woman," unquote. And apparently what happens is whatever occurred during Civil War, Captain Marvel is both the most popular and the most polarizing hero currently in the Marvel Universe.
So, yeah, that definitely went down better than what happened with Tony.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Stark, when he came out of Civil War, he was running S.H.I.E.L.D., he was the world's top cop, he wasn't liked by half the community, but at least the public liked him. In this case, it sounds like she was very dividing, unfortunately. I wonder if this will still take place on Hala Station with Alpha Flight. I wonder if that's still in it. I'm starting to like Marvel's version of storytelling in these short volumes because they're easy jump in and jump out points. If you don't like it, you can just put it down. But if you do like it, the stories are easily digestible and you can kind of move on to another one when the next volume comes up if something else catches your interest, Gennady Tartakovsky, for years he had worked on a Luke Cage series. Turns out that miniseries is finally going to be released this October.
Yeah,
it's going to be a four-issue limited series by the creator of Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, and Hotel Transylvania. According to the solicits, quote, "On the mean streets of Harlem, shoes are big, shirts are large, bottoms are belled, and crime is rampant." Holy crap. But in the heart of the city, the world's hardest working, smack-talking, chain-wearing superhero is on the street and on the case. And his rates are reasonable. He's Cage, and he'll save your behind. Dig it? Unquote.
This reminds me so much of Action Hank.
That's what it sounds like. It really does.
If Cage comes out sporting a beard, I'm just going to be like, oh, yeah.
I've seen the images. I don't think he's sporting a beard, but it's
no, he's
got a
clean-shaven,
distinct
but
style.
It's Gennady Tartakovsky's like art style, but it's his 1970s outfit with the silver tiara and the big fro.
At least he's not calling himself Power Man.
He probably is at this point. He was Power Man when he wore that outfit. Cage is just a more recognizable name.
Yeah.
And the death of X. We've talked about the solicits that happen every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like another X-Man is dying. Who's going to be on the chopping block? Well, it might not be the guy we thought it was. It turns out The Death of X will be a 4-issue limited series written by Jeff Lemire and Charles Soule, with Aaron Cooter doing the illustrations. And The Death of X is going to fill in the gap and finally tell the story of what drove Cyclops to attack the Inhumans. The Death of X may just be the death of Cyclops.
Gotcha.
There may be another character dying in there. We don't know. But according to Jeff Lemire, quote, "We'll definitely see some characters who've been missing in action since the series launch. We'll answer the question of where certain mutants have been and what happened to them. Cyclops is the big one. He's the one we've said was dead, and that's all we've really said. His death was very controversial, so obviously that'll be a big part of the story we're telling here," unquote. Maybe this will finally answer where in the hell Emma Frost has been.
Yeah.
You would think if Cyclops died, she would be the first one picking up the lance and trying to drive it straight into Medusa's heart.
Maybe she's the one that died.
I don't know. I look forward to finding out the story, though. And last up, Civil War II, Choosing Sides #5. Choosing Sides is kind of the side stories of Civil War, you know, how certain characters ended up on whichever side they're picking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have a variant cover involving Alpha Flight and their new Prime Minister.
Oh,
The actual Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, is on the cover. Is in a variant cover in boxing gloves and a boxing outfit with Sasquatch, Aurora, and Puck in his corner.
Huh.
As well as it looks like Iron Man in the background. It's a very odd thing, but I do like the reasoning that the artist Ramon Perez had when he did the art. He's from Toronto himself. He said, quote, "I didn't want to do a stuffy cover, just like a suit and tie, put his likeness on the cover and call it a day. I wanted to kind of evoke a little bit of what's different about him than other people in power right now. You don't see Barack Obama strutting around in boxing gear, doing push-ups in commercials or whatnot. Just throwing him in his gear, making him almost like an everyday person was kind of fun," unquote. It's a nice bit of logic, actually. Although if you're going to do something Canadian, couldn't he, like, drinking maple syrup while playing hockey or something? You laugh at the weirdest times.
I'm sorry, but I was thinking myself, I was like, if you're going to do a sport, why not hockey? It's Canada.
Does that make us racist?
I think a little bit.
A little bit.
Now we have DC comic news. We'll talk about DC's properties that will end up on the comic book page. Neil Adams, who's doing the Coming of the Superman story for DC currently, promises a big shock in the final page of the series. It's a 6-issue limited run, and he admits that the series was crafted to show the type of Superman and Jack Kirby characters that Adams prefers. But he says the final page is really going to shock people. How's it going to shock people? We'll find out that the New 52 Superman did survive after all.
That has been hinted at.
Can only guess. Although there is a DC crossover comic coming.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a DC crossover comic that doesn't involve DC characters. Do you guys remember being a young kid playing with action figures? It wasn't quite playing so much as just kind of throwing them at each other and seeing whichever one was still standing afterwards.
Ultimate Muscle, man. Ultimate Muscle.
Yeah, okay. This comic book mashup kind of reminds me of that, because it is a new crossover between the Masters of the Universe and the Thundercats.
What?
Comic Book Resources broke it first. This news came out just yesterday, July 9th. And, Masters of the Universe is going to be written by writer Rob David and his producer Jeff Goldfein with art from Freddie Williams II. The series is going to see Lion-O and his friends team up with He-Man after Mum-Ra scours the multiverse in search of a weapon that could defeat the Sword of Omens, and he puts his eyes on He-Man's own power sword.
Okay,
Didn't
so
Death
we're
Battle
following
already
the same
do this
storyline
fight?
as like we're following the storyline of yes, actually Death Battle did do this fight.
Yeah, but they're not fighting each other. They're teaming up against their various villains. Because Mum-Ra opens up portals to the Masters of the Universe world, and he tries to get He-Man's sword, and it doesn't look like it goes correctly.
Yeah. It's kind of like when Mum-Ra got a hold of Excalibur and managed to stab the Sword of Omens.
All I can say is if they're going to do this, I really hope they use some of the latter redesigns for these characters, because right now all I'm thinking is this is going to be a whole lot of loincloth Speedos and bare chests.
Hey,
It's
depending
making
on
me
the
a
bare
lit-
chest, that could be good, but you know.
It's making me a little uncomfortable. DC Comics has also announced a new series called World's Finest Couple.
Okay.
I don't think that's the official name of it. I think that's what they're calling the two people in it. Want to take a stab at who's going to be starring in this particular book?
Wonder Woman and Superman?
Nice try. No. Remember, that Superman died.
Bruce Wayne instead?
You already had your guess. Steve, want to guess who the world's finest couple for DC will be?
I know I'm not going to get it right, so I'm just going to say Aquaman and Mera.
Nice try. You know, that would have been an In the Park double, but no. October 5th, a new 6-issue limited series, Midnighter and Apollo, comes out.
Oh. Wow, I think we were way off.
According to the series writer Steve Orlando, quote, Midnighter and Apollo have spent time apart, figuring out who they were when they defined their own, when defined on their own instead of by their relationship. They have a firmer idea of who they are, and they become stronger and more confident together. Midnighter and Apollo are back to remind the world that it is truly a bad time to be bastards, unquote.
Okay, I was going to say that the original relationship was kind of a train wreck, so it's good that they're taking it from the standpoint of, you know, yes, this happened, now we've moved on, we're stronger because of it. Okay.
I wonder, though, if technically the storyline would have occurred if the sales on the Midnighter series originally were stronger. I don't know. Muhammad Ali, we talked about, he recently passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He is in one of DC's most infamous covers of all time, the cover where he's fighting Superman in Interstellar Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that cover is going to be remade.
Really?
Don't ask me why they're doing this. But Neil Adams is returning to the concept of that story. But this time, Superman has to box another notorious fighter, Harley Quinn.
What?
I think I've seen this
Harley
headline.
Quinn's Little Black Book number 5 is going to feature the Man of Steel himself, the current Superman, being enticed by an alien race to fight Harley Quinn.
Okay.
I mean, when they did the thing with Muhammad Ali, they had this weird balancing system so that the two of them were fighting on even terms, and Muhammad Ali won that fight. If they do the same thing in a fight between Superman and Harley Quinn, he had better wear a cup.
Yeah.
I sent you guys the cover recreated by Neil Adams with Superman, and now Harley Quinn standing in the place where Muhammad Ali used to be.
Is that a kryptonite-infused mallet?
That's what it appears to be. Either that, or she stole Hal Jordan's power batteries, getting ready to deliver one hell of a wallop.
Oh, and of course, Batman
it's
is there.
interesting seeing the faces in the crowd, like
Yeah.
Barack Obama,
Barack and Michelle Obama, yeah.
I think that's
Batman's
O.J.
cowl.
Simpson back there.
What it appears to be.
Yeah.
It looks like a bunch of sports figures all over the crowd this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see Lou Gehrig back there. Huh. It's an interesting choice. I'm not going to say it's going to make me buy the book, but I do have this weird morbid curiosity about it.
Yeah.
And Batman #1, Post Rebirth, finally came out. And we still don't know who the central villain is of the book, but there was a clue that was laid towards the end of the first issue. the villain, entirely in profile and shadow, said, "Observe the clock, Batman." Which, to me, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, Temple Fugit's back. The Clock King is back, and he's going to kick his ass somehow, I guess.
I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, so did a lot of other people. And again, I'm not a heavy DC reader, but that was my first inference. Turns out, "Observe the clock, Batman" was a line used by another Batman character very infamously way, way back in another Batman #1. And after injecting Batman with some kind of unknown serum, apparently it takes 18 hours to take effect. He was told at that time to observe the clock. The man who injected him was Hugo Strange.
Okay, now that doesn't surprise me.
Well, Tom King, the guy who's doing the Vision comics that have been scaring the piss out of us, he's the one who said that this new villain in Batman #1 is a solvable mystery if you've read Batman #1.
Right. Okay.
And that creepy former CIA bastard loves to play head games with just about everybody that reads his comics. So this is well within reason for whatever mystery he's laying out. I'm not going to call it a surety, but I think Newsarama did crack that one pretty well. Now we have general comic and convention news. That's where we talk about comic books that are not Marvel and DC related, as well as convention news across the world. All the convention news we have is Comic-Con related, simply because nobody else wants to come out with news when Comic-Con's about to occur.
It does seem a little self-defeating.
It's not just self-defeating. It's digital noise compared to a bunch of people going, okay, got to pack up the bags and get ready because goodness knows it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean people trying to get to the marina to find the freaking Staryu and their Pokemon Go games and stuff. Warner Brothers is bringing 21 shows to Comic-Con this year.
Wow.
That includes returning shows like The 100, Arrow, The Big Bang Theory, Blind Spot, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, Gotham, iZombie, Lucifer, The Original, Supergirl, Supernatural, and The Vampire Diaries. Despite whatever networks they appear on, those are Warner Brothers produced shows. But they also have some first-time stuff, including Frequency, Riverdale, People of the Earth, Powerless, Time After Time. All pilots of those series, as well as a brand new episode of Teen Titans Go, the debut of Justice League Action, and Ballroom 20 on Wednesday night. Holy cow, if you like TV, man, this is a place to be.
Apparently.
In addition to that, one of the stars of the Power Rangers film says that the film is heading to Comic-Con to do some promotion. Becky G, she's in the upcoming Lionsgate Power Rangers film. She told Mega 96.3, quote, "And I know that we're going to be doing Comic-Con, so we're going to do that. I'm geeked, yeah." And the radio host asked, "Is this your first Comic-Con?" "My first Comic-Con," unquote. This discussion was had while they were talking about the fact that Bryan Cranston has been cast to play Zordon in the film. Walter White as Zordon. Do you think he's going to give them all powers via blue meth? That would be awesome. Those gigantic blue glowing crystals. No, that's not an alien power crystal. Here, have some of my special brew. Click. Wouldn't that be wicked? They had to smoke meth to gain powers, man. That'd be just like real life. And as we were talking about before, Netflix is having a definitive presence at Comic-Con. Ballroom 20 is going to be taken over during the evening of, Thursday, July 21st at 5:30, where Luke Cage is going to have a premiere of some sort in Comic-Con. Word is there will be a premiere of footage, but nobody knows exactly how much. It is said that the star of the show, Mike Coulter, will be there, as well as Alfre Woodard. And Kristen Ritter's already said she's going to be at Comic-Con. I'd say it's a 50-50 shot she shows up at this panel, too. I think that's pretty awesome, man. And it wouldn't be beyond anybody to debut the first episode of a series coming out in 2 months at Comic-Con.
True.
Jesus, I saw the entire first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 2 months before the series came out. Wouldn't that be nifty? See, this is a time we need V, because Star Trek is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary at Comic-Con. We've discussed that they're having a special pre-debut Star Trek Beyond behind the convention center. Still no word on how any of us going can get tickets, and I'm starting to wonder if there is any way for us to do so. But at a special panel called Celebrating 50 Years, William Shatner, Michael Dorn, Brent Spiner, Jerry Ryan, and Scott Bakula will all appear at the panel to discuss Star Trek's history.
Wow.
Oh, that's not all. Shatner, Spiner, and Dorn will be available for photo opportunities at the Lightspeed Fine Art booth as well on the floor. That's one of a number of panels and items going on over the course of the weekend, including Trek Talks, Science Smithsonian Star Trek, The Roddenberry Vault, Trek Talks, Star Trek and NASA Boldly Go, Star Trek, the official Starships collection, designing and filming starships, and Star Trek, 5 Decades of Comics. So there's going to be a lot of Star Wars there, right?
Yeah.
Remember to send all your hate mail to him.
Yeah, my name is Jesse Nelson.
Bite me.
And there's a trivia contest that I'm sure none of us are going to go to, but it's going to be popular. Sci-Fi is holding a Sharknado trivia contest.
Yep, I would feel
He
that.
can have it.
Utterly.
It's happening during Comic-Con, although I don't... It says to enter, you need to have a badge for all days of the convention and be available to film on both Tuesday, July 19th, and Saturday, July 23rd. You must also be 18 years of age and a resident of the U.S. You can enter via the website. Really? You want me to check your card? As a matter of fact, I have to go to a Comic-Con pre-party on Tuesday. I got VIP access. You know, Stan Lee and like some of the board from Kamikaze is going to be there. The CEO of Comic-Con itself is going to be at the party.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Word is there's going to be it's kind of like a giant networking event. You know, it's not exactly for the geeks, although it's good for the geeks. But, you know, I'm pretty much going to talk to some bigwigs and see if I can just meet people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Tuesday night's going to be weirdly busy for me. Bandai has announced some of their exclusives finally for Comic-Con, and just about all of them are Power Rangers associated.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, you know, there's a movie coming out.
Yep.
There's a special Red Ranger figure with 3 different swords for some reason. I don't know why. It's going to be limited to only 1,000 pieces.
Oh, wow. That's going to go fast.
I don't think it's going to go as fast as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Limited Edition Legacy Blade Blaster. Remember those weird guns they had on their hips?
Yeah.
This one is black and gold, unlike any in the series. It's $150, and it's... Oh, God, there's only 800 of them.
Oh.
Let's see, that Power Rangers Red Ranger figure I was talking about, that's only $40. And it was announced at Bandai this year they've moved to a Sayless ticketing procedure when it comes to getting exclusives. Need to line up early in the morning to get a Sayless Pavilion ticket if you want to get any of this stuff.
Gotcha.
Power Rangers cosplayers actually, if they show up at the Bandai booth for free, they get an exclusive black and gold Dino Charger. Just for dressing up as Power Rangers.
Huh.
There's also some other stuff, including a limited edition Ladybug and Cat Noir 5.5-inch figure 2-pack. That is really popular. A Naruto Shippuden Shinobi Relation event exclusive figure, Chakra Color. It's only $35.
Huh.
There's only 1,000 of them apparently. Oh God, I know people who would kill me for this. A Sailor Moon mini compact case mascot set for Pretty Guardians color. $50. Only 500 made.
How many?
500 of these things.
Wow.
Only 500 of these cases have been made, and they're the mini red compacts you saw in like the original Sailor Moon. The ones that were at the center of the bows, if you recall, with the stars on them. They've recreated them.
Huh.
The set's only $50, but there's only 500 of these made. You can bet that these will go fast. You got to be there like day one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, DC Entertainment has finally revealed some of their exclusives for Comic-Con. For $10, you can get a DC's Batman Rebirth #1 convention exclusive variant with a Jim Lee cover. You can get a Dark Knight 3 issue #5 convention exclusive cover, a convention exclusive variant for Justice League #1 by Tony Daniels, another Jim Lee exclusive cover for Superman #1 Rebirth, Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller Gallery Edition sign for $275. You see various T-shirts of DC characters with the Watchmen blood splatter on it. Oh, and another Jim Lee cover for Wonder Woman Rebirth #1. Are you guys interested in Hot Wheels at all?
It's been, I don't know, last time I had interest in toy cars was, I don't remember. It's been that long.
Oh, okay. Because Mattel may have come up with something that might rekindle that interest. However, I would really hate to see people fight for this. As you know, Mattel had pre-sales for a number of their items from their Comic-Con exclusives list. Doesn't mean they run out. It just means, their pre-sales entirely out. Whatever else you get, you have to get at the booth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, they came up with a special set of 4 Hot Wheels and a commemorative case this year that were not pre-sold at all. You have to go to the booth to get this. It's Hot Wheels version of Luke in his X-Wing in the trench run with Darth Vader and 2 TIE Fighter cars flanking him. Take a look at this case.
Ah, that's neat.
That's not the neat part. I mean, first of all, let's see. Do we know how much this is going to be? It's $50.
Light up.
It's $50 for this set. And the reason why people are never going to open this is because of this. Take a look at this version of it. Somebody made the case with LED lights. All the vehicles light up from underneath, as well as that cannon that's in the background, and it makes sounds.
It's a display piece.
Yes, it is. It's because I have children, I can never own this, because 2 of them would try to rip this thing open. Assuming I didn't, anyway. Marvel has finally announced one of the exclusives they have at their booth, and once again, they're having a year of Scotty Young pins. Scotty Young, if you recall, he's the one that does a bunch of the or at least used to do, the Young Marvel versions of characters for miniseries and covers.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, for the last few years, they've offered like 1 and 2 set pins for people to buy. They've announced all but 3 this year, and if you take a look, he's done it again. I especially like the in the first row, second from the left, the Black Panther on the gigantic ball of yarn. Deadpool upside down firing suction cups is interesting. Gwenpool with a lollipop is kind of nifty.
Punisher with Nerf guns.
Yeah. Lady Thor and Captain Marvel look like they're about ready to smack each other in the face. The Howard the Duck in the pond is very adorable, although a little disturbing.
Oh, that's what that is. I couldn't tell.
Yes, that's young Howard the Duck. And that's Hercules over there with a gigantic mace.
Yep.
I love the pins and I love Scotty Young's work. It's just a pain in the ass to get to the Marvel booth before half this stuff is gone. They always have a line out the door. And speaking of Marvel exclusives, Hasbro finally announced what their 2 Marvel exclusives are this year. One is a set they call the Collector's Vault. It's a bunch of 3.75-inch figures of the Collector, Lockjaw, Howard the Duck, Moon Boy, and Cosmo the Dog. It's a very strange set, and it includes a couple other accessory pieces, like the Cask of Winters, the Wand of Watum, and the Scorpio Key. The Zodiac Key. This is basically meant to round out sets, although it's a Comic-Con exclusive set, which means it's worth money anyway. They also have a bunch of 6-inch figures. It is a Raft box set for $120. And it's, if I'm counting this correctly, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. Damn, man. I mean, it has Spider-Man, the Enchantress, the Dread Knight, the Abomination, the Sandman, the Purple Man. I see the Hobgoblin as well. It does look to be a 9-figure set that's going to retail for $120. They're calling it the Raft box set. Dude. That's going to be serious. The 2016 Harvey Awards nominees have been announced. And there is an awful lot to go through here, so we'll just try and pick out some of the major categories. Best colorist will be Laura Allred for Silver Surfer, Ulysses Areola for Ninjak, David Barron for Divinity, Jordi Belair for Injection, Laura Martin for Ragnarok, and Brian Reber for Exo Manowar. Let's see. Best Online Comics Worth. Albert the Alien by Trevor Mueller. Battle Pug by Mike Norton. Bloom County 2015 by Berkeley Breathed. Oh Joy Sex Toy by Erica Moen and Matthew Nolan. And Zombie Boy by Mark Stokes. Best American Edition of Foreign Material. Corto Maltese Beyond the Windy Isles. One Punch Man. The Realist. Showa 1953 to 1989. A History of Japan. And Two Brothers. Oh, here we go. Best New Series. Archie for Archie Comics. Bloodshot Reborn for Valiant. Giant Days by Boom. Paper Girls by Image. And The Vision by Marvel.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yep.
Most Promising New Talent. Raoul Allen, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. Robert Gill for Book of Death. Tom King for The Vision. Dan Mora for Klaus. And Lisa Tressman for Giant Days. Oh, okay. Best Special Award for Humor in Comic Books. James Asmus for Quantum and Woody Must Die. Elliot Callan for Unity number 25. Michael Cooperman for Unity number 25. Rafer Roberts, Exo Manowar number 38. Fred Van Lente for Ivor Time Walker for Valiant. And Chip Zdarsky for Howard the Duck. Dude. Let's see. Is there any... Best Cover Artist. Okay. David Aja for Hawkeye. Raoul Allen for Ivor Time Walker. Mike Del Mundo for Elektra. Jelena Kevik Dezervdik for Divinity. David LaFuente for Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. Luis La Rosa for Ninjak. Paulo Rivera for The Valiant. Fiona Staples for Saga. And Matt Taylor for Arcadia. Huh. And the last one I'll go through here, actually there's two more. Best Continuing or Limited Series. Bitch Planet for Image Comics. Bloodshot Reborn for Valiant Entertainment. Book of Death for Valiant Entertainment. Divinity for Valiant Entertainment. Giant Days for Boom Studios. Ninjak for Valiant Entertainment. Saga by Image Comics. The Southern Bastards by Image Comics. And The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl by Marvel Comics.
Really?
I'm not kidding. I'm reading these as is. I'm not making any of this up. Best Writer, Jason Aaron for Southern Bastards. Jeff Lemire for Bloodshot Reborn. Brian K. Vaughan for Saga. Mark Waid for Archie. G. Willow Wilson for Miss Marvel.
I can get behind that as well.
Yep, me too.
And Best Single Issue or Story. Bloodshot Reborn number 1, Valiant. Book of Death number 1, Valiant. Peanuts, a tribute to Charles M. Schultz, Boom Studios. Silver Surfer number 11, Marvel. The Valiant number 4 by Valiant. And Wrath of the Eternal Warrior number 1 by Valiant. Man, Valiant took a lot this year as far as nominees go. They had a strong damn year. And Boom Studios has announced that they are teaming up with a company that's been in comics before to create some new series, and I'm not excited about. They're teaming up with World Wrestling Entertainment for a line of comic books and graphic novels.
Huh.
No details are known about the partnership other than John Cena is apparently featured in one of the new series upcoming.
Of course.
Yeah, according to Executive Vice President of Consumer Products for WWE, Casey Collins, quote, Boom is one of the fastest growing comic book publishers in the industry, and their vision for the WWE brand showed us exactly why. We were blown away by the level of detail and creativity and are confident the WWE Universe and comic book fans will agree, unquote.
Why am I getting sudden flashbacks to that old 80s cartoon starring Hulk Hogan?
Actually, you should have flashbacks to the 1990s limited series that included Triple H and The Undertaker. Not exactly a strong presentation at the time. Actually, probably the worst one I could think of would be the Ultimate Warrior comic. That was truly bad. Like truly. As much as Gem is truly outrageous, that was truly bad.
Are we talking the Robot Chicken? Truly outrageous?
I
don't think I know what you're
remember
talking.
that.
I haven't watched Robot Chicken with any sort of regularity in about 3 years now, so I don't know.
Oh, this was one of the original things.
Yes,
She walked
this
up
is
to a
one of the
men's
original.
urinal and starts pissing, and it says, "Is she truly outrageous?"
Oh.
I didn't need to remember that, man.
Okay, and last up is our WTF corner. Those are the types of stories from across the internet that, you know what? I give up. They're just playing Pokemon Go. They don't care. Never mind. But because it is WTF, we always start with video game videos. incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and the type of glitches that they're still playing Pokemon Go. They don't care. So, we'll start with an Assassin's Creed Syndicate video. This game comes up every now and again with some odd glitches, and this one really isn't that different. This came from the user of channel Paper Television. That's an incredible name. They titled this video simply, quote, "Flying Glitch," unquote.
Okay.
We've had a few different flying glitches, most notably that Dark Souls video where the guy just kind of floated away when I guess he decided he took enough damage. He used the God Call.
Right.
This is not the same thing. I've watched this, and it's a little trippy. You ready?
Okay.
Go.
All right. I sent the video. So there you are in a carriage, riding through lampposts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not exactly graceful, so she gets out here. Oh, that boat. I need to catch that boat. So, whee! Got it.
Okay, Superman.
What was that, about 200 yards horizontally?
You try it for the Olympics with that kind of leap.
We'll just
That
rename her Slingshot.
Let's see. We have a video here from Uncharted 4.
Okay.
Okay.
These are always unusual. The last time actually, this is another time where the last time we talked about this video, somebody floated across the water like Jesus. You recall that? He floated up on the boat.
Yeah.
This is another type of problem. This came from the channel of user Xenthrot. XENTHROGHT. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He titled this video, "Samuel Drake Kidney Stones Problem."
Oh, ow.
Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that where you live, can't you?
Yeah, I've had two of
I think I
them,
may have
so.
seen this clip.
Yeah, well, check this out, because I sent the video. So, look, found a rope.
This should hold.
Oh yeah, this'll hold. Fine, okay. And we rappel like an idiot. I wonder if he found the coyote at the bottom. Who's kicking up the rocks, anyway? Oh,
Ow.
they're coming out of his ass.
What was all this?
And now they're coming out of his chest.
Excavation.
Dude, stop doing that. At least aim for the bucket. Why is he spraying rocks out of his abdomen, man? You really need to see a doctor about that.
Shit, get out!
At least stop eating chocolate, I suppose.
Okay, we're good.
No, we are not
No,
good.
we're
Have you
not.
seen yourself?
Nice to meet you too, Shoreline. Seems like they
Look,
were
just stay here and
expecting
build a
us.
wall or
Yeah,
something,
like
okay?
we're
He's still doing it.
Why didn't you guys...
Sam, I'm going to give you the number of my urologist.
Oh, we did, a little. This place is so big, without knowing where to look.
Yeah, if you're shooting that in the dark, everybody's going to get killed.
Let's get out of here before anyone checks out.
That does look uncomfortable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what kind of glitch this is.
I don't know. I mean, what kind of glitch makes a man suddenly spout rocks out of roughly his appendix? You know what? These aren't kidney stones. These are gallstones. He's weaponized his bladder. Oh, notice how he's rubbing his hands like he's uncomfortable all of a sudden? Look, can't you just point that away from me? I mean, seriously. Dude. I've had nightmares that look like that, but they didn't look like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on here because we've got 3 Overwatch videos this week.
Ugh.
Oh, dude, this first one, I had to stare at this a couple times. This came from the channel of user Miss Catbug Please. MSCATBUG space PLZ. They titled this video, Hanzo's Magic Arrow.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
This is incredible. It's a very short video, so you got to pay attention. I sent the video. So there you are.
Run around it.
wandering
Done.
around. Yeah. Hey, Reinhardt died. What the hell
Wait,
was
what?
that? Watch this. See that arrow coming down 45 degrees, and it makes a sudden turn straight down.
Whoa.
Nobody mess with Hanzo. He's a Jedi. I've heard that the hitboxes in this game are freaky, but dude.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Here's another Overwatch video from the channel of user Maplenix. Maplenix. Sounds like 2 Pokemon had freaky sex or something. He titled this video, Team Kill. Genji deflected Zarya's ultimate.
Oh shit!
Ah, so you just learned something new. I sent the video.
Play
Play the game, Plenix. There's Genji.
I think it's
Rushing
Maple
into
next.
very busy. And bounce back ultimate. And just sliced the living crap out of all of them.
Wow.
Clear field.
That's what we call getting owned.
No, I would say the next video is the ownage. The next video came from user Jamie Barundo. Or is it Jaime Barundo? Haime space Borondo. Dude, you should start your own wrestling school with a name like that. He titled this video, Reinhardt Bullfighting 101 with May.
Oh crap!
Ole.
Totale. I sent the video. There's May. There's a Roadhog. There's a Reinhardt up there in that train car.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. Are you coming? 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 Come on. Here he comes. Bye. And off a cliff.
Oh.
The wave was cruel. The fact that she just waved and said, see ya.
It's just icing on the cake.
Okay. Further on in the WTF corner, I am honestly horrified because we've talked about this comic a little bit. New details have come out about it.
All right.
We've talked before about DC putting out a Kentucky Fried Chicken comic.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently the Colonel has something Colonel Sanders himself has something he calls the Colonel Core. I am rather frightened by this. There's images of people that look like Colonel Sanders in different clothes. I don't know why. It apparently involves a female Flash at some point. And you know what? I'm thoroughly scared by this right now. It even has Colonel Grodd.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap out. This makes me choke out, man. One person even wrote in the letters column, he calls himself Mr. Fanboy, quote, "One thing troubles me, though. We've yet to learn the Colonel's secret identity. Surely our chicken fried champion has one. It's just how these things work, and he plans to reveal it in a further issue," unquote. He got a response.
Really?
Yes, quote, "I think there may have been some confusion here. I am Harlan Sanders. I'm a real man. I was born in 1890 and died in 1980, then came back to re-colonelize my restaurants and have all these superhero adventures. This is all really happening. Go to a KFC, you'll see," unquote.
What?
I say no. I say serious no. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but God's no. Speaking of ideas that probably look better on paper, I think you guys heard about the Adult VR Fan Fest in Japan?
No.
I have thanks to another podcast.
Yeah, Akihabara had its first ever adult virtual reality fest, 01. The event had to end prematurely. There were fears of mass hysteria from people desperately trying to see the latest in masturbation tools. According to a Japanese reporter, the 20 closest individuals in line were allowed access inside before the venue was forcibly shut down due to the overpowering crowds gathering in anticipation. Although the 20 that got inside did enthusiastically express approval of the revolutionary technology inside. No.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's one thing... There's one thing to experience this in the privacy of your own home, but to even attempt to do this in public? No. There was one blogger who gave his thoughts regarding the people attending. Some people have said that it may be an accurate description. He said, quote, "These people are putting their lives on the line for adult VR. They don't like this world, and they know women don't see them in a good light. They have their own needs that have yet to be fulfilled, but they don't want to bother anyone with them. Thus, they turn to a new world. Honestly, they're wonderful people hoping for a brave new world, and they'll finally have one soon enough. There were plenty of problems while waiting to get in, but none of these patient gentlemen voiced any complaints. They simply waited silently to be let in. It was about 20 minutes after opening time when their leader appeared, unquote. Holy crap, that sounds like every creepy stereotype all at once. I mean, the only thing they didn't do is like carry around a half-naked Daikomura with them, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sir, no. No, I will wait for the finished product, and I will not wait around a bunch of strangers to see it. How would you guys like to see the world's laziest wolf?
I'm curious. Show me.
Okay.
It doesn't have any information to say where this wolf was, except it looks like he was in some kind of nature reserve. He could hear other wolves in the background howling, and apparently decided that it wasn't worth his trouble to put in a whole lot of effort. The video came from nywolf.org. It's a wolf conservation center. Dude, when you hear this, it's so pathetic. I sent the video. nywolf.org. This wolf this wolf is apparently named Alawa. Yeah, just laying there groaning, and you start to hear other wolves in the background, and you see the ears perk up a little. But apparently
he's wrong with it.
No, just lazy, tired. See, oh, okay, got my attention now. I'll chime in here, I guess. And there you
Yawn.
go. Yep. It's so pathetic, isn't it? It's like I just can't be bothered to deal with all this nature shit today, Sam. Really.
I'm guessing Sam's the guy photographing all of this.
Oh, there he goes.
A little bit, and then, nope, done. Okay. Not even picking that shit out of his fur. He's just laying there going, yeah, whatever. Good night.
Yeah, plop.
That's a lazy
any
wolf.
One of us waking up. That could be any one of us waking up.
Speak for yourself. Steve has seen me wake up. It's frightening how fast I get moving. And that still occurs. I'm still just awake and up. That's an amazing wolf.
Far too comfortable.
Yeah. It's amazing you say far too comfortable, because there is now a 58-year-old man in Japan who is not going to be comfortable at all. He's been arrested on charges of property damage.
Oh.
What did he destroy?
Destroy may not be the right word. He's been arrested for stuffing a condom full of his own semen into a schoolgirl's bag.
What?
He claimed this was his way of relieving stress, as if masturbation to fill a condom is not good enough, apparently.
To go out of your way and stuff it into a little girl's backpack.
Oh, would you like added irony? This 58-year-old man, he works for a cleaning firm. He was at the Kokaigijido Mei Station in Tokyo, and he found an unsuspecting schoolgirl, and once the victim arrived at school, she discovered the unwanted condom in her bag. Not only in her bag, but it spilled its contents all over her goddamn belongings.
Oh.
The man explained that he went through this because he was stressed at work.
Yeah, there's a thing called a garbage can.
Dude, take up
Can't you
gaming.
dispose it there?
Well, no, I mean, he did this because he was stressed, and even through all that masturbation, he was still stressed. He needs to pick up another hobby, like needlepoint or something, man.
Yeah.
Because obviously his hands are way too busy when he's bored. He's also admitted that he's done this thing over the past several years. DNA testing revealed he may be the culprit in various other semen-based incidents in the area. Wow.
You
know what? Screw it. I don't have any good jokes for this, man. This is really bad. Because I keep picturing if this happened to one of my own kids and the rage I would fly into, man. I would need to hurt somebody after that, frankly. This was a different type of WTF. There is a jailer in Parker County, Texas, who owes his life to the inmates.
Huh, really?
Literally. On June 23rd, there was a holding cell in the basement of the district court's building in Weatherford, Texas. Okay, 8 prisoners were behind a locked door. There was one guard sitting outside watching them as they were being processed in and out for court hearings, right?
Mm-hmm.
One inmate, Nick Kelton, said that the guard just fell over. quote, looked like an act, could have died right there, unquote. Turns out the guard didn't just slump, he had a heart attack right then and there.
Wow.
So the inmates started making noise and they couldn't get any attention. So what did they do? They broke out of the holding gate so they could drag the man to the ground and begin CPR.
Huh.
Meanwhile, while a few of the inmates were doing that, a few others kept banging on the doors and walls trying to get anybody's attention. He apparently was legally dead twice, and they kept reviving him before other guards came. And to tell you what kind of attitude these men had, again, these were 8 people who broke out of a holding gate to do this. They even left the guard's gun and radio intact. Apparently, one of them was considering pulling the radio just in the hopes of calling for help, but he wasn't entirely sure how to make that call.
Someone's dying here. Get over here.
Dude, I'd say each of these guys earned, depending on what sentences they get, they'd earn some time off their sentences, frankly. The guard is alive, man. They kept him alive until other guards showed up and could successfully perform CPR. Because according to one other cop, that guy could have been there for 15 minutes before anybody even discovered him.
Wow.
Although they did reinforce the holding cell now. What can you say, man? They may have been in there for bad reasons, but at least they did right.
Yep.
And I have a video I have to share with you. Remember last time we got together, we were talking about Donald Trump and his odd trip to Scotland in the middle of the Brexit vote.
Yes.
The vote where Britain somehow decided it's a good time to leave the European Union. Trump hailed the vote and said that the Scottish people were very happy, even though the Scottish people voted overwhelmingly to stay in the European Union. And then we heard about all the amazing Twitter responses from Scotland and the UK. Well, this became a subject of conversation on another show. Okay? You've heard of Full Frontal with Samantha Bee? It's a late-night variety and comedy show.
Yes, I think I've seen this clip.
Okay, she used to be on The Daily Show, and she actually went over this thing. It's a 2-minute video where not only that, but she had a special guest from Scotland read the videos.
Yes. Read the statements.
Yes, or read the tweets, I should say.
Yeah.
I sent the video. Full Frontal with Samantha Bee on TBS.
Scotland overwhelmingly voted to stay. I mean, who's afraid of immigrants when you're protected by a 3-foot wall? The poor Scots woke up Friday morning to find that the English had fucked them yet again, just like they've been doing ever since Scotland's blue period. How could the day get
That was a
any
stretch.
worse for them?
There's the no, not avocado, apricot.
It's going to be great. No, I think it's
Actually, he would be an apricot.
I can't decide which of those loud windbags is more painful to listen to. You'd think that sound might clue Trump in about what country he was standing in, but no.
You're taking your country back. You're going to let people that you want.
It's really hard to
your
take him
country,
seriously in
and
every
people
appearance.
That you don't want, or people that you don't think are going to be appropriate for your country.
He doesn't
or
just
good
sound
for your
stupid, he
country,
looks
you're not
stupid,
gonna have to
unfortunately.
take.
Oh boy. Okay, you just confused England and Scotland. They love that.
Don't ever call me English again.
Peter Capaldi.
Trump immediately got dragged by British Twitter. It's like black Twitter, except 87% not. Oh, jeez.
Okay.
I wish I had a real Scotsman to read their tweets to you.
Look,
Oh, wow.
David Tennant, would
Time
you
Lord
mind?
David Tennant.
With pleasure. They voted Remain, you wiggy slice. Scotland voted Remain, you weapons-grade plum. They voted Remain, and they hate your guts, you ludicrous tangerine ball bag.
That's new.
Scotland voted to stay, you numpty. Scotland voted overwhelmingly to stay in Europe, you two-paid fuck trumpet. Scotland voted to stay, you witless fucking cocksplat.
Thank you, David. That was so nice of you. Listen, I hate to ask you for another favor, but is there any way you
Oh,
can,
that was close to painful.
kind of go back in time and save people from voting Brexit?
Can't you understand? If I could go back and save them, then I would, but I can't. I can never go back. I can't. I just can't.
Okay, sorry, Jesus.
What? Why couldn't he actually be the Purple Man and order him to fall off a cliff or something?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to end the WTF with one of our favorite blue farts out here, and that is out of context D&D quotes from Tumblr. You can find more of these at outofcontextdnd.tumblr.com. Usual latest 10?
Sure.
Okay. This apparently was said by a gnome warlock infiltrating a goblin camp. I disguised self as a goblin, mainlined the magic cocaine, and then joined them in their festivities. That's direct.
Okay.
Okay. This was said by a dungeon master after the party found a missing key by slicing a dead ghoul in half. I told you a rectal check was better.
That was bad.
Oh yeah? How about this? A mashup of dragons and elementals named Quetzal when the party worked out that she was born from two fathers. Wait, my parents were a flying fish and a dinosaur, and what you're having trouble with is their gender. Dude, I can't even draw a map that complicated.
Yeah.
This was said by a scion in a party. A tree can't ascend to godhood. Dude. Okay, this is out of context, and this requires an explanation. I swear if my heart isn't waiting for me at the end of this, I am hunting that monkey down.
Okay.
That sounds like a scene out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's see. A Mantis Shugenja. Ooh, a Legend of the Five Rings character. I'm not getting any armor either. I can just set myself on fire if I need protection.
I
okay,
need
Buddha.
some context for that. I need some
Frick,
context
man.
for that. The hell?
Oh, yeah? This works in just about any scenario for just about any sentence. I didn't think it was possible to sound that dirty without a German accent, but you proved me wrong.
I want to know what that person said.
Probably the same thing in this next one. Can we not piss off the trees, please? Ents have morning wood?
Oh.
Boo. Oh, boo.
Oh, yeah? This next one is frightening. This was said by a dungeon master. You're being followed by baby orphaned ninja drop bears.
Someone's trying too hard to make a something. I don't know.
It sounds like a next wave adventure. And this last one, I don't know where he was. I can only imagine he was in a field, because if not, anywhere else he was, this is horrible. I would like to inspect the foul-smelling holes.
Okay.
That's one of those things that no matter who you say it to, somebody else is saying, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Because when you get married, I'm going to remind you that you asked to inspect the foul-smelling holes. The subject of this week is Young Avengers from 2005. This was a group of young heroes who came together just, I'm guessing, before the first volume of New Avengers technically started. I know the series came afterwards, but I think as far as timeline, it's between Avengers Disassembled and New Avengers. The series artist was Jim Chung, who's actually going to be at Comic-Con in a couple of weeks. The writer was Alan Heinberg, inker John Dell, colorist John Ponser, and the letters were done by VC's Corey Pettit. A few other names involved here. It has. I don't think I've read this since the original run 11 years ago, and this first 6 issues, I think it holds up extremely well. What are you guys' initial opinions?
I thoroughly enjoy. I enjoy the. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? The interactions between all the characters.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first storyline. I wasn't really sure how it was going to work without the Iron Lad in it, but yeah, the initial storyline definitely grabbed my attention.
It had a very different dynamic afterwards with kind of a struggle for leadership, but that's neither here nor there. We didn't get into those.
Yeah.
The first 6 issues all dealt with the initial story of the formation of what became known as the Young Avengers, because they made it very clear in the first 4 issues that's not their name.
Yeah.
They don't know what their name is, but that's not it.
Too bad.
I gotta say, Jim Chung's art is incredible. He really knew how to set up a scene in just about every panel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the writing, too, by Alan Heinberg was a lot of fun. The very first scene where was it J. Jonah Jameson, a writer, Kat Farrell, and Jessica Jones, a very pregnant at this point Jessica Jones, talking about the investigation of the Young Avengers. That was TV worthy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the fact that Jessica Jones was hired not just as a PI or a private investigator, but because a lot of people consider her like, you know, a hero fan bait because she used to be a superhero very shortly.
Well, and she you know has the possibility of being friendsies with all these other superheroes because they all know each other, right?
Oh yeah, they all apparently go to the same clubhouse or something. But I love the fact that when they're talking about it, you know, Kat Farrell was just telling her, you know, you have over 200 fan sites, right? That is so ridiculous. I'm going to choose not to believe that. Oh, actually, here it is. Jessica Jones is Jewel. Oh, hey, where'd you get that? Off the net. You've got like 200 fan sites. That may be the scariest thing I've ever heard. So who better to track down a gang of superpower fanboys? Oh no. Than superpower fan favorite Jewel. Guys, they're kids. They're not going to remember me. So you'll remind them. You still have the costume, right? Okay, I'm going to be sick now. And not because I'm pregnant. No, even J. Jonah Jameson got a dig in there. So you'll find the kids, get their story, and practice your mothering skills all at the same time. What mothering skills? Exactly.
You ass.
Well, it is her first pregnancy.
True, I do like that little bit of backstory he had with he came to Bucky, though.
Oh, God, yeah. J. Jonah Jameson wanted to be Bucky. Every kid in the 40s wanted to be Bucky.
Then he died, and I didn't want to be Bucky anymore.
Yeah, I like that. I like that when Farrell had never heard of Bucky. Who hasn't heard of Bucky? God, how old are you? Older than you, young lady. You know, and I love the fact that Jessica Jones was talking about that with Farrell in the elevator. So, yeah. Jonah wanted to be Bucky when he was a kid. Explains a lot. Not really. What kid doesn't want to be a superhero? To have the perfect body, to be able to fly? I wanted to be Spider-Man, so go figure.
Yeah, and then she was like, well, I wanted to be you. And then she's like, wait, what?
Yeah, you're kidding, right? Hey, wait! And I still like that as soon as they exit the Daily Bugle there. So what's our next move? Contact what's left of the Avengers? Well, I'll try, but I'm not as connected as Jonah. And then they get a rush of wind, and there's Iron Man carrying Captain America right above them.
Yep. You know? Can we talk?
Yeah. I like that as they're flying away where they're, how'd you guys know where I was? We have our ways. My boyfriend told you, didn't he? Yes, he did. That was a recurring joke throughout these 6 issues. Like, Luke Cage is somehow the operator for all these superheroes. Like, everybody connects through him.
I'm not sure operator, but instigator or enabler.
He's the connection point. Everybody apparently calls Luke when they're trying to find somebody else. Like, he was big in the superhero community until this point, which he was not. So, Cap and Iron Man want to shut these kids down before they accidentally get themselves or others killed, which is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Considering all the crap they've recently been through with one of their own, you know, killing a couple of Avengers.
Mm-hmm. This is after House of M, right?
No.
No, not House of M.
House of M hasn't occurred yet. This would have been after Avengers disassembled when the Scarlet Witch killed the Vision and Hawkeye.
Right.
Okay.
But obviously it's before New Avengers because they're not talking about Luke Cage as one of the team or that there is a team. According to them right now, the Avengers don't exist. So Avengers Mansion is a shell. It's been destroyed. There is no Avengers Squad operating. So this is before the incidents we read a few weeks ago at the raft.
Mm-hmm.
The designs on the first volume of the Young Avengers, I liked most of it. However, Iron Lad's was a little bizarre.
Yeah.
You know, the placement of the silver in his costume, he looked kind of like a male stripper at certain points.
I don't know. I didn't have that much of a problem with his suit.
Dude,
I did have an issue with the face.
Yeah, the silver from mid-ribs all the way down to mid-thigh, it reminds me of Diva's costume.
Oh.
Which was very 90s.
Yeah.
Hulkling and Wiccan, they look like fans of their various characters. Patriot was a nice misdirection, though. I mean, his costume was, with the exception of the star, I think, was a perfect recreation of Bucky's, with the exception of the mask. The full face mask.
Yeah.
And one thing, even though I know all these characters by now, just about all of which have appeared in subsequent series with the exception of Patriot, they did do a nice job, I noticed, in the initial writing of keeping it very mysterious what any of these kids' connections are to both the Avengers as well as their actual power sets.
Mm-hmm.
They kept it really damn quiet. I gotta say, though, it is a little weird to go back and read this issue when the Young Avengers crash a hostage situation at a chapel during a wedding where Kate Bishop is the maid of honor.
Yeah, see, at first I thought she was the one getting married, and I thought it was a little awkward that she was running around doing all this stuff. And then I realized, oh, wait, no.
Also, the weird tension she and Patriot has. It's not quite romantic, but it's very antagonistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta admit, the way Jim Chung drew Hulkling, I thought Hulkling was like a slim girl that turned into that.
Yeah.
I really didn't clue in over the first couple issues that this was a gay relationship. I guess I was just thinking too conventionally, I suppose. I really thought it was a girl in disguise. I don't know if that was intentional, but it's the way it came off.
I think it's just the way he structured the face.
It may so
way
have
more
to do
feminine.
with... I think it has to do with the prominence of the lips in his drawing originally.
Probably.
Because the original Hulk, there really wasn't much by the way of jade lips in that. I'm used to thinking of She-Hulk when I see that. So it may just be my standards of reading comics. And then to find out that this team is so loose, they apparently don't even have a clubhouse. After everything is done, they just kind of sneak back into their respective parents' houses.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of Iron Lad, who sneaks into Avengers Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And that reveal at the end of the first issue, that Iron Lad is on the run because he thinks Kang the Conqueror is coming to retrieve him because he is Kang the Conqueror.
Yes,
Iron Lad is Kang the Conqueror.
Yes, and with that, you kind of know the outcome of the story.
Yeah.
In degrees, though, because the story was kind of open-ended the way they left it, and that storyline did come back to haunt a lot of characters later on.
Okay.
We'll get into that later. The second issue, the first issue was a strong setup because they left you with just enough mystery to bring you back for the second issue. And the second issue begins with Kate Bishop, I guess you could say recovering at the hospital, except she needs no help, and her dad is freaking out because he figures he's donated enough money to the hospital that they owe him some special treatment of some sort.
Yep.
And then as she sits outside just kind of waiting, Cassie shows up. Cassie Lang. Scott Lang's daughter, who at this point is dead. I forgot. There was a third dead Avenger over the course of Avengers Disassembled. And Cassie just wants to find the other Young Avengers to be a Young Avenger. Even though she technically doesn't have any powers or abilities of her own that she's aware of. What did you guys think of the backstory that was established here for young Kang? Because it's got to be a nightmare for any kid to find out that you are the equivalent of Hitler.
Yeah.
You know, and he was so adamant about not becoming this thing.
Right.
You know, he got a version of Kang's armor, ran back in time to when he thought the Avengers were, found out there were no Avengers, and he pulled together this team based on the operating system and files of the Vision, who was still deactivated at the time. He downloaded them all into his armor.
Yep.
And then there was the side adventure of Patriot trying to stop I guess an armed robbery.
No.
Oh, no, it was a drug
deal.
deal. Drug deal, that's right, mutant growth hormone. And then the odd question of what to do with everybody afterwards, because they have no idea where to drop them off at. That's a very, 80s problem, don't you think?
Yeah.
It used to be 80s superheroes when you stop somebody, you just drop them wherever they were, like the police were your cleanup crew for some reason. Don't forget things like due process and what the actual crime was and testifying and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But would you like to know a fun secret as to why Patriot was doing what he was doing in this issue?
Why?
Sure.
Up to this point, he was powerless. You saw him in this point. He's got limited strength, some reflexes. He took that gunshot to the chest and lived.
Right.
He wasn't bulletproof, but he took that shot. It turns out he was getting his powers from mutant growth hormone at the time.
Oh, really? Because he was.
He had
to
no
the story. He got his blood infusion from his grandfather.
Grandfather, Isaiah Bradley, the very first Captain America.
Right.
Yeah, funny story there. He was lying to everybody. He was stealing mutant growth hormone to develop his powers to stay on the team. And then about 3 arcs into the regular series, he was injured so badly that his grandfather did have to give him a blood transfusion, and that's when he actually got superpowers.
Huh.
The lie became the truth subsequently.
Gotcha.
It's odd how it all comes around, isn't it?
What were the side effects of mutant growth hormone? Because I don't believe I was reading during the time that was.
It varied by the individual. Mutant growth hormone is derided usually by refining the blood of a mutant into something that can be taken in pill form. And all it does is kind of awaken a few dormant genes on a temporary basis so that people can develop limited superpowers.
Okay.
Was it Cassie and Kate trying to sneak into what's left of Avengers Mansion was hilarious, man.
Oh, God, that was.
Her trying to remember all the door codes that she had, and none of them were working, and then when she looked, there's Kate on the other side of the gate just asking her, hey, you want me to give you a boost? But that next panel, when she came across the crater where Scott Lang died.
Yeah, oh man, that was...
That hurt, man. Then, what was it, Asgardian, Hulkling, and Patriot show up, and man, Patriot is full of lip, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that as soon as they make themselves known, he tells them, I don't know how you kids got in here, but you're going to have to leave. They're all the same approximate goddamn age.
Yeah. He was totally just acting like...
Like he owned everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like Kate's comeback, though. And this is Ant-Man's daughter, so now who's trespassing? And then there's Asgardian. You're Cassie Lang?
Yeah. They were such fanboys. They did
Fanboys.
such a good job of being fanboys.
I know, and the two ladies want to be Young Avengers, and I like the question, Ant Girl. Like Cassie automatically has claim to everything ant-related.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was Kate who actually name dropped that.
Yeah. And then, what was it? Patriot trying to stop Cassie, who's 14 at this point, from entering the mansion, and he gets flipped end over end by her because she finally got kidnapped enough.
She's been kidnapped enough times.
Her mom let her take self-defense classes.
Yeah.
She gets into an argument because she really wants to find her dad's gear, and then she realized at the end of her rant she's about 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
Taller than the trees.
Which, of course, having read the future things up there, I'm assuming it's because she's got her dad's heart.
No. That's her heart, but it was filled with Pym particles, if you recall.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
no, that's right.
exposure.
She got her heart stolen by the other guy. That's right.
Yeah, by Darren Cross.
Yeah.
So, Vision apparently was the one who developed a plan for the Avengers Protocol, Young Avengers, whatever you want to call it. It's an interesting idea, actually. It's nice to know that some of these characters have lives beyond what happens on the comic book pages. It's like what some people joke about when it comes to cartoons. They don't exist when they're off panel, right? Nothing happens.
Yeah.
But they were all chosen, with the exception of Cassie and Kate, who weren't in the files, because they all have some kind of existing connection to Avengers or Avengers abilities, which we learned subsequently is all true. Well, except for Iron Lad, of course.
Right, well, but they never actually did address where...
where what?
Hulkling and then as the Asgardian.
Yeah, subsequently known as Wiccan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, they did.
Not by issue 6.
Not by issue 6, but in subsequent stories, they did explain it.
Okay, well, that's what I assumed, but yeah, they never got around to...
Wiccan is one half of a pair of twins, him and his twin brother Speed, another subsequent Young Avenger. They are the recreated sons of the Scarlet Witch.
Huh.
They were reborn via her magics. They actually exist now.
Oh.
They both look exactly like each other, but look, one's a magician that can make anything happen that he wants, and the other one is a super speeder. That remind you of anybody?
Yep.
So that's connection number 1. Hulkling might be a construct of Wiccan, something subconscious, or he might actually be what he is written as.
The scroll?
He is... No.
No?
No, he's a halfling.
Oh,
he's a royal...
What? Megan?
No, he's a royal halfling.
I don't have context for this.
He is a combination of the royalty of 2 different races. He is a Krull-Skree hybrid.
Oh.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, I think I just mixed words. Skrull-Kree hybrid.
Right.
Yeah, so I got it, but it's like, whoa.
Yeah, he is a prince of the Skrull people, recognized even. His parents brought him down to this planet for hiding and safekeeping. Yeah, truly,
I'm
right?
Sure,
Yeah, go to
sure
Earth when you want to be
so
safe.
Happy,
Are you
happy
kidding?
that he joined the Avengers.
Yeah, I'm sure
great
every alien thinks of Earth as a safe place. What? Galactus visits like every other month, right?
Yeah, but he gets driven away every time.
Yeah, barely. Oh, and there was a couple times the Earth was destroyed by different people, frickin' Infinity Gauntlets and such.
Yeah, but it's still there.
No, it's not. It's been reborn. And then the story of Elijah Bradley, the original Captain America's grandson. God, man, you would have to actually know comic books to understand that story. Because if a bunch of movie people read that and said, that's the first Captain America, no way.
Yeah.
I mean, technically...
The chip on his shoulder, my God.
Yeah, but it is kind of earned because the retconning to make Isaiah Bradley the first Captain America was not a happy story.
No.
It was unwilling testing they did on black soldiers before they actually brought the finished project to the project that Captain America was part again, Project Born Again.
Right.
So he didn't go through that willingly, and even though he had all these powers and was representing his country as a soldier, he wasn't being recognized by his own military.
Right.
So he had a good reason to be kind of upset about that. Although I got to say, Cassie Lang, she looks good in her father's Ant-Man costume.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is kind of amazing that she's supposed to be 14 and she's wearing a full-grown man's costume, and it fits her a little too well.
Doesn't that thing alter its shape because of the size changing?
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
It's made out of unstable molecules, but it's not like she size changed to fit into it. She's still small, and she just put it on like a shirt. That's not the way spandex works. Even in this universe, that's not the way spandex works.
Yeah, no, I just thought because it was the unstable particles, it just shrank down to fit her.
Yeah, I still am uncomfortable talking about that. That's just too perfect an explanation for me, even in comic books. Frickin' Reed Richards and his inventions. Although the coming to God moment she had with Tony Stark when he blames himself for Scott's death.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have anything direct to do with it, but just because they were all so busy saving the world, they kind of ignored Wanda and her problems. It's a fair assessment, but at the same time, they keep telling her that she can't be what she wants to be. It's the one thing in this series I kind of kept disagreeing with, because they are a bunch of superpowered teenagers. If there's anybody who's going to do what you tell them not to, it's superpowered teenagers.
Well, as pointed out by Jessica Jones, she's just like, and what if they don't want to stop their teenagers with powers?
I think she can relate to that.
Yeah.
At this point, no, she can't. She didn't become Jewel till after high school.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It'd be a little too creepy if an underage girl was raped for her story.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
Brian Michael Bendis
immediately as she became Jewel.
It happened a few months afterwards.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't in the costume very long before her life was turned upside down. The encounter towards the end of issue 3 was kind of creepy with the Stimuloid, which that must be a 60s name, because that brings about too many bad images in my twisted mind.
Yeah, I'm not so familiar with Kang. I knew he was, a pretty big threat, despite his goofy ass costume and whatnot. But yeah,
Kang is beyond a serious threat, because whereas Doctor Doom is like a techno mage, I guess you could say that Kang is something close to a chrono mage. He doesn't actually do magics, but he manipulates time to the point where it seems like he brings armies with him just constantly. Usually in the form of these robots that are easy to smash and look really nifty on comic books.
Right.
And when he
out of the ether.
Yeah, I mean, even though Kang is not my favorite design, when he appeared at the end of issue 3, you can almost hear that threatening music in the background.
Yeah.
It's almost like Cary Elwes in Robin Hood Men in Tights. And now for the fight scene. Issue 4, man, things turned up way too quickly.
Yeah, the pace
tempo
really picked up.
Yeah, let alone the cover itself led to so many questions. Kang in the center and Iron Man carrying an unconscious Patriot. Captain America looks like he impaled Iron Lad. That's the kind of cover that makes you question a whole bunch of stuff. But the way Kang turned so quickly on Cap and Iron Man, two premier Avengers, put them both down, and then threatened to shoot the baby, basically clean out of Jessica Jones. He definitely showed off badass very quickly there.
Although just took the initiative back pretty quick too.
Yeah, but that was further in the issue. And before then, the Young Avengers, either powerless or disarmed, were locked in a sub-basement in Avengers Mansion by the adults, thinking that would keep them safe. I love that they start talking about options about how to get through this door, and just when it looks like they've finally come up with a plan was when Kate Bishop, the one untrained, unpowered person, just kind of opened the door from the other side and said, "The frick are you all waiting for?"
I pay attention. I am helpful. I am useful. And you don't want to love me.
Not only that, but the only reason she could open the door is because she watched Iron Man punch in the code and just memorized it.
I am unfamiliar with her family.
Actually, I have never heard of this character until this point.
Okay. Because they kept making it like her dad was some kind of huge big shot, and I was like, okay, so he must have existed before this.
Well, the thing is, Big Shot is all relative. He's a wealthy man, but then again, how's he going to compete with the wealth of, like, Reed Richards or Tony Stark or, all that other stuff? He's just a good businessman, basically.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's going to compare pretty well with Tony right now, because from how he was talking, he was pretty broke.
He wasn't broke. He couldn't afford to keep running the Avengers. It was one of his downsizing days. But God, Kang, with that rifle and Captain America's shield, threatening Jessica Jones, and before he knew what happened, the pregnant lady whooped his ass. and it's one of those times where you can tell when somebody was following the character a little too closely, because after she kicked him, caught the rifle, Kang's getting up and saying, "This is pointless," and there's Jones pointing the rifle. I could hear Kristen Ritter say the words, "It's fun for me."
Yeah.
And then they find out time is shifting around them because young Kang, Iron Lad, refuses to go back in time to the point where he was taken from. The second half of this story arc turned to a real Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, the thing that, it's like, okay, I understand, he pulled the young one out, it's going to alter the future and whatnot, but it's like, he does it all the time.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't usually do it to himself.
Yeah, it just, I don't know.
Well, the story all hinges on the issue of what would happen if Kang the Conqueror never existed. And as it turns out, there's a multi-layered issue that we'll talk about a little further on there about what would happen if Kang was pulled out of the timeline entirely. I got to appreciate the fact that not only did Kate Bishop free them and allow them to get rearmed, she went through all the bedrooms that code she remembered could open and stole a bunch of the human Avengers weaponry and gear.
No, it was all in one place because the Iron Man.
No, she said she went through bedrooms.
No. She just grabbed everything that she could out of the one room.
Yeah, Tony Stark said he locked them all up in a vault.
Yep. When he talked about...
Actually, she said Iron Man security code opened up all the bedrooms, too, so I grabbed all the weapons I could find.
All right, I think the Ant-Man helmet was put in the vault.
Yeah, the Ant-Man tech was removed. The Young Avengers just re-geared with the stuff that the adults had taken away from him. She grabbed that stuff from Avengers' bedrooms.
Huh.
But she had Mockingbird's mask and her battle truncheon. She had the swordsman's sword and his belt, and one of Hawkeye's bows and his arrows. And at the time, Hawkeye was in no position to argue about it. He was one of the dead ones.
Right.
I did like that they called her Hawkingbird with all that crap, though.
That's such a horrible name.
It wasn't hers.
Well, I know.
And they gave Patriot that kite shield he had before he got the disc.
Yeah, Cap's original reinforced shield. You better start being nice to me, Patriot, or I'm not going to give you your present. God, and then time started to shift around the adults. Cap in his ruined costume, Iron Man in his cobbled armor, Jessica Jones in her jewel costume, sans pregnancy.
Yes.
God, that's a creepy moment. And that's when the adults agree it's probably better to send Iron Lad back. And to cut the conversation short, there was over the next 3 issues, they had a lot of back and forth about whether or not to send him back, and a lot of decision making to do.
Yeah, everybody was kind of in flux for a while there. It was all fun and games until they themselves started getting personally affected, and then everybody quickly flipped and said, nope, gotta go back.
Yeah. I think it was in the 5th issue when the Vision came back. It was Iron Lad's armor self-animating with the Vision's operating system.
Mm-hmm.
Which
didn't last long.
No, but he did become a Young Avenger in a subsequent storyline.
Ah.
It was an interesting story, and it was also kind of awkward for Cassie, who fell in love with young Kang during the course of the story. Because the Vision, in this version, as it turns out, because it was made out of Kang's armor, it was a combination of Vision's operating system and the neurological settings of young Kang. So Vision was almost immediately taken with her.
Yeah, that was a little abrupt.
Which?
Where they ended up just starting to kiss, and I was just like, wait, where did this come from?
Yeah.
He saved her life. You know, when people are in life-threatening situations, emotional responses tend to get heightened pretty quickly.
I guess.
No, that's an actual study. It occurs.
I realize that, but it's still, it just progressed very quickly.
Okay. It was interesting how all that time they spent trying to get through Kang's defenses, it was a combination of one of Asgardian spells to remove the shields and one well-placed arrow. Have you ever used one of those before? Every summer at Interlochen National Music Camp, I also play the cello. That's a hell of a music camp.
Yeah.
But I did like that as soon as they disarmed him, you know, Patriot rushes in to finish him off, and everyone keeps forgetting that even though he looks ridiculous, Kang is a master of several forms of combat.
Yes.
He's very serious about what he does. But towards the end of the 5th issue, you know, Vision shows up to, or the Vision reanimates Iron Lad's armor and starts to help out, and things look like they're going well. Kang deactivates the armor, reassumes it for his own, and just when it looks like he gets the upper hand, young Kang stabs him through the back of the chest.
That was awesome.
That's a hell of a moment, man, and that's a bad way to leave the 5th issue. You can imagine what kind of noises I was making when I was reading that. Like, way back in 2005. It's like, damn it!
Yep.
And then the 6th issue was all about how it has to go back. And I think part of that isn't just with restoring the timeline. I think the problem is that without Kang being a perennial threat to the Avengers, they just weren't as well prepared for other issues without his interference. And the thing that gets me is that now that young Kang has to go back and fulfill his destiny as Kang the Conqueror, it makes me wonder if behind all the times he's at that armor, is he really the Avengers' enemy, or is he just their biggest test that he can supply? Is he actually trying to defeat them, or is he just trying to make them stronger in whatever way he can? You know what I mean?
I kind of took it as the abandonment that the Avengers had was what fuels his hatred for them.
No, he still doesn't. As a matter of fact, he showed up and helped them restore Scott Lang to the timeline. In a subsequent story, he actually returned.
Because supposedly he was supposed to forget all of that.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He was still in love with Cassie when he showed up. As a matter of fact, you know what may have turned him into their worst enemy?
What?
Remember when I told you that Cassie died?
Oh.
He was there when she died.
Gotcha.
I think that's the point where he started to really dislike these people.
Who killed her, out of curiosity?
It was Doom, actually. Remember we found out that Doom was one who manipulated the Scarlet Witch into going insane and disassembling the Avengers?
Right.
It was the storyline where we confirmed that the twins were Wanda's kids, and they were trying to rescue her from Doom, who was trying to marry her at the time, I believe.
Okay.
Cassie died at the end of that story, and the Young Avengers pretty much disbanded after that. Young Vision was destroyed again, and that was around the same time the original Vision finally regenerated and self-repaired, and the Avengers were coming to a much more standardized sort of structure. I think it was also just past the siege, so the dark period was over and the heroic age was beginning. You know, Captain America was back. Or Steve Rogers was back, I should say. I think I'm yammering.
Yep.
So at the end of the story, you know, that's that's where the Young Avengers get the costumes I think most people are familiar with when you mention Young Avengers.
Right.
You know, the modified outfits everyone's come to know in several things. In their second arc was when Vision became a full-time member of the team and when they found Speed, who was a juvenile delinquent. Sounds a lot like his uncle.
I don't know. I did like the explanation on, why is Quicksilver such an asshole? Well, when you view the world as he does, yeah, you tend to be that way.
Actually,
you have little patience.
Actually, we have a chance to listen to the guy who made that comment.
This
Peter
is true.
David has a spotlight panel at Comic-Con on day one.
Ooh.
That's on my schedule, and you want to know why?
Hmm.
Because if we sit through that and wait for the next one in the same room an hour later, G. Willow Wilson has a spotlight panel.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
I marked that down on my schedule, thinking maybe I'll talk to them and see if they want to go. You guys want to go?
Yeah.
Yes. I might actually do something at Comic-Con this time. Besides peruse the dealer's hall for hours on end.
Well, being that, I've had one-day passes this entire time, then yeah.
Okay,
Makes
we're
it a little hard to get excited.
We are seriously tangenting here.
True.
I loved the art in this series. The writing was actually really strong, and I kind of like the fact that the Young Avengers, they came together similar to a lot of other super teams in that there was this weird randomized threat that they were assembled to defeat, except it was the kind of threat that was both within and without. They had to deal with some very complicated issues for a first outing.
Yeah. Especially since the person that ended up endangering them the most was the person, pulling them together.
Yeah, the person who led them. So, and, even in 2005, women's characterization in comics was not terribly strong. They came up with 2 really strong female leads in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bishop has become a mainstay in Marvel comics, at least.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed her character.
Cassie Lang, I wish she was allowed to continue down this path before the writers did what they did to her.
Yeah, and
now she's back in this weird misadventures and astonishing Ant-Man.
Yeah.
She's still one of my favorite characters. She's seen a lot of adversity. It's just her life took a serious turn after her stint in Young Avengers.
Yeah. And even before that, though, it kind of boggled the mind. It's like, yeah, every other weekend, until my mom got full custody, I'm at the Avengers Mansion. It's like, no way.
That's another thing that comic books are pretty awful at telling is the kids of these heroes have got to have some of the weirdest ideas of what life is like. Consider what her day-to-day was. 1 week in a month, she was being surrounded by Iron Man and Captain America and the Vision, the Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, frickin' Tigra, Hercules, and his goddamn sarong with no underwear. Must have been a really weird time to be a kid, but also pretty great because everybody's playing dress-up all the damn time.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine Cassie Lang trying to get lessons from Natasha Romanoff about how to be a girl?
Oh, boy.
Dude! But actually rereading this I knew it was always in the back of my head that Young Avengers was a good series. I had forgotten why, and I really have very little by the way of complaints about it. 6 issues seems like a long time to go through this arc, but again, they actually spent time thinking a lot about the characters' responses in this series. The writer deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
My only complaint, and this is very minor, is that after that final page in the first issue, you kind of knew what the outcome was going to be, but ultimately the story to it was what was really important.
Well, I mean, we've been around long enough to really understand what a lot of foreshadowing leads to, but as we've said on this show, it's all about the execution.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that as simple as the potential resolution was, they did a good job over the course of 6 issues, continuously upping the stakes to the point where even the Young Avengers were disappearing as a result of this weird timeline inversion they were going through. To the point where even Young King himself had to say, okay, I'll go. He had to live his own hell, basically.
That truly, I mean,
It's the embodiment of
That's
heroism. He gave
yeah.
up everything for them. Top to bottom, he gave up his freedom, the life he wanted, the love he wanted, all for them.
Yep.
I think maybe that's why he remembered, because it wasn't his older self that sent him back. It was him making the decision himself. Maybe that's why he remembered.
It could be. It could be that he took over Kang's part in the... Like I said, it could be that he didn't just become Kang. He willingly went through the trouble of creating a persona so that he could reinforce and strengthen the Avengers.
And
But there...
With that knowledge, he knew when he was going to die, which is strangely morbid.
Yeah, but it also makes subsequent storylines, when I think about it again, really sad. I mean, think about the guy who's doing all this, right? Mm-hmm. He's doing his best to keep the Avengers safe by continuously challenging them. Now think about Kang the Conqueror and the weird, effed up things he has to do, like the first story arc in Uncanny Avengers, the Apocalypse Twins, and all that stuff he has to go through. And he has to stomach all this and keep doing it because it's what's best for the timeline. Holy crap, life must be awful.
Yeah.
I would imagine at some point he really did become this persona he's created just because it's what he does. Sooner or later, you're going to be so desensitized to the point where you just become what you hate.
I think a thought just occurred to me because watching King trying to do something with his past self. I wonder if he's one of the responsible for why the original 5 X-Men can't go back.
It's possible. Somebody was monkeying with a machine.
Yeah.
I wonder what possible... unless they write it into the Champions, though, I don't know what kind of purpose that could serve. So, we still don't know the reason why they can't go back, and I don't want to get into that right now, because that's a whole bunch of supposition, considering how many time travelers there are. For all I know, Bishop peed in the gas tank of the time machine just because he thought it was funny. So I'm going to release that for now. But I would say this is a heavy recommend. It's even for young readers. This is a good jump on point to find out a lot about the Avengers overall, and through a gateway of a bunch of characters who are still technically very new in the Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. So everyone's pretty much on even keel, and I really enjoyed this reread. I mean, it was nowhere near the train wreck Wetworks was, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any suggestions for anything upcoming next week, or should we even have a series next week, considering all we're going to talk about is how we're getting ready for a damn thing going on in San Diego?
Yeah, I don't know. Depends on what everybody's schedule's looking like.
How about this? We'll talk about the convention, because I'm sure as of tomorrow they'll release a full schedule. I'm sure we'll have an idea where we want to be, first of all. Mm-hmm. Secondly, why don't we keep it a little bit in flux, just because there's either two things that are going to happen next week. There's either going to be a ton of news so that people can start talking about where they want to be at Comic-Con, or there's going to be almost no news because nobody wants to announce anything until they get to Comic-Con.
Yeah, this is true.
We're going to run into a real serious issue here, and I don't know which way it's going to go. So why don't we play it by ear next week?
Okay.
All right. That sounds like a better plan. Thank you for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. And if any of you have issues with how many times we said Comic-Con, please put down the bottle. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive, and don't play Pokemon Go while you're driving. Enjoy!
Oops.
Bastard.